listening to the Overcast. Sunshine on a cloudy day. Part of the Oversoul Gaming channel. Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the Overcast, the entertainment podcast where we like to have fun. I am your host, Justin, aka Oversoul.
And I am your co-host, Nick, aka The Vaping Feed.
Yes, and we're bringing you sunshine on a cloudy day.
I'm back, you guys.
Yes, yeah, after a one-episode hiatus, the prodigal son has returned.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good to have you back because it's
Yes.
The one-man show. I had to consume a lot of caffeine to make that work.
I believe it.
I think it showed in the final product.
I might be all snuffled up, you guys. My allergies are bugging the ever-living hell out of me, so please forgive me.
Well, speaking of snuffled up, our special guest today is my cat Snuffles, like always, because he's in the room that I record in.
Yeah.
He's in the room that I recorded. On a real note, though, we may be having a special guest or two here soon for a very special episode. No spoilers, but stay tuned. For those of you who have been around the YouTube channel for a while, one of them will be a very familiar face.
Yes.
If he's
Actually,
able
both
to make
of them.
That's true.
Both?
That's true.
Both of them, yeah.
One of them's a familiar face from more recent years as well. The other one is
That's fair, yeah.
The other one is a deep cut from the challenge videos.
Yes.
Yeah, like a more of a background character.
Right. Yeah.
Participated in the first Don't Laugh challenge with the water spitting and whatnot. And,
yes, they both did, actually.
And was in the Bean one too, or was that just a background watch? I think that was just a background.
I think that was a background watch for that one.
But you know who was in the Bean one because they had the most
Yes, I do.
They had the most infamous scene in that one. And look,
yes.
they're both going to listen to this and know that we're talking about that. And the funny thing is, this episode is actually going to come out after we're scheduled to record with them. So, yeah, folks, this episode was recorded like 2 weeks before you're hearing it. That's just how it be sometimes.
Yes.
You gotta schedule these things out. So that I'm saying all this like they're gonna hear it before we record with them, and they're not. They're not gonna hear this until after the fact. So it doesn't matter.
Right.
But yeah. Anyways, though, it's good to have you back because the one-man show, we need the balance. We need the yin and the yang. See, because like I'm like the film critic side of things, and you're like the average consumer side of things. We need that
pretty
balance.
much.
We need that balance between the over analytical deep dive and the regular popcorn munching enjoyment. You know.
Yep.
Or when you actually manage to stay awake through a movie.
Yeah.
But on that note, though,
man,
I guess I haven't heard
from
you. I haven't heard from you in over a week or so. I guess it's been so. Why don't you, since you weren't here last week, why don't you give the audience your life updates first?
Well, I mean, I don't really have much going on. I mean, I'm working. I have officially asked Sarah to be my girlfriend, and she accepted.
Ooh, congratulations.
Yes.
He said yes, like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons there. Like,
yes.
That was so evil and plotting. Like, yes, step 1 is now complete. On to step 2.
Right.
Sarah's gonna hear this and be like, what's step 2?
Right.
Oh no, what have I gotten myself into? Girl, run!
I'm fucking dead.
Oh no, but dude, I was actually gonna ask you if you guys did anything else fun after you left here.
Yeah, so we did some we did some more shopping and stuffs. We got matching loungers. She got Sally and I got Jack Skellington. And we took cute pictures with them on um I'm yeah. I'm a hopeless romantic, you guys. At least I try to be.
I remember
no,
the story
then,
of how you recreated that infamous fireworks kissing scene from Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah, the fireworks. Yeah, no, the fireworks at Six Flags. That was our first kiss. Yes.
Do go on though.
But no, like, and then the day that she went back to Iowa, before she took off, we went ice skating at the local ice arena here in Rockford. So we got on the ice. I got to I got to I don't have rentals. I don't do rentals anymore. I have my own pair of hockey skates now. I had them sharpened before I even stepped blade on the ice. But no, it's having my own pair of hockey skates they're a lot more comfortable than the rentals, that's for sure.
Mr. Fancy here with his
oh my gosh, dude.
With his
like
self-owned things.
I got him for a fucking steal too. Asher found them on the Facebook Market and they were $25, but off the shelf, brand new. I think the receipt in the box said $350. Yeah, I got $350 ice hockey skates for $25 on the Facebook Market.
Damn.
Yeah, no, that's a fucking steal, dude. They're you can definitely tell that they're used, but they were well taken care of.
That's wow. It baffles me when people don't realize the actual value of the things they're selling.
Right.
But hey, that's on them. Holy crap. Did you do anything special for the 10th anniversary of Grand Theft Auto 5?
Oh, dude. So, okay. I didn't have too much time to log on to GTA Online because I did have to get some other things done. But I did log on today for Grand Theft Auto's 10th anniversary. And in the clothing, I think they had 3 items of clothing that they awarded everybody. It's Grand Theft Auto 5 anniversary merch or apparel. They had a green hoodie that says "You own Los Santos," and then I forget what the other ones said. I don't think the second one said anything. It just had a picture on it. And then the third one had something to do with San Andreas.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
You know, GTA games, I want to say specifically 3 in Vice City are among, like, the top 10 best-selling PS2 games of all time.
Dude, okay, so I read something today, right? I think I retweeted it. Yeah, fuck X. I won't call it X.
They don't even have they don't even have a creative name for what those things are. It's not like you like re-exed it or whatever, which would be stupid anyways, but
no, they just call it a repost.
A repost, yeah. So it's just like everything else now. They wanted to make it special and it's not. It's just like everything else.
Right. Okay. So this was on Twitter. It says 10 years ago today, Grand Theft Auto 5 was released by Rockstar Games on PS3 and Xbox 360 to become the most profitable entertainment product in history, with 185 million units sold and 7.7 billion in revenue.
Yeah, it's crazy to me because like every month PlayStation on their PlayStation blog puts out this like list of the most downloaded games that month on the PlayStation Store. Like, so these are the games that people are buying and downloading more than any other game on the PlayStation Store, right?
You also got to factor
for that
in.
Month.
You also got to factor in the shark cards that people use buy to purchase in-game money with real money.
Well, this particular list isn't factoring that. They're factoring just like the core games themselves on this
Gotcha.
list, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
Every month, GTA 5 comes up on this list, somewhere in the top 10 downloaded games. That means every single month, every single year, there is enough people buying brand new copies of this game still to this day for it to make the top 10 downloads on PlayStation alone every month.
That's insane.
Where are all these new fans coming from? People ain't having kids no more. What is this?
I'm telling you, bro. Like, the fuck?
It's insane.
It is. Like, bro, it still holds up, too.
And, like, his grandma just, like, walking her way into the living room. What are you playing there, Jimmy? It's like, oh, let me shoot some hookers, too.
Yes.
Like, you thought I could only play Wii Bowling, did ya?
Gangster Granny over here.
Yeah, it's cool. Well, I mean, Skyrim grandma, may she rest in peace.
Right. Oh, dude. That was probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I'm gonna be honest. That was pretty cool to see an old lady just playing Skyrim. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's insane. I wonder if there's a tribute to her somewhere in Starfield. That would be cool.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
I think they put a tribute to her like in Fallout 4 or something, though. I'd have to look it up. I'd have to check that. Subject to change without notice.
Right.
You know, I don't think that works here, but I'm saying it anyway. But okay. Well, yeah. Honestly, I got fuck all going on now. The most interesting thing that happened in my life recently, everyone already heard about, because you came over last weekend, you know,
Yup.
And that was that, you know, that was that time.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Yeah. Funny how that last episode I like recorded and threw together and put out in a matter of a couple days. This one is going to be like weeks.
Yeah.
There's a good reason for that, though, and I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but today's episode, in lieu of a topic, we're going to be doing a tier list, and yes, I am borrowing yet another idea from Markiplier's Distractable. He's a good influence. Fucking deal with it. So, look, he doesn't own the rights to doing tier lists, okay? I can do them too. So, here's the thing.
Right.
In honor of the upcoming Saw X, we're going to do a tier list of Saw traps. Now, this tier list that I found after doing a quick, lazy, less than 5-minute Google search, basically came up with one that has a random assortment of 37 different traps from the first 7 movies. So, those are the ones we're going to be going through, so expect spoilers for at least the first 7 Saw movies, but possibly also Jigsaw and Spiral, as we'll want to, because when we do this tier list, I'll dig more into this when we actually get to the topic section, but we're going to be having some discussions about these, so...
Okay, so I do want to touch on one thing before we go on to the next thing. That clip that you sent me was insane, and that I cannot wait to see this new movie.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, there's a clip going around the internet. It's an official clip that was put out because it's like good quality and it's been posted by official channels like Rotten Tomatoes and shit. But it's a clip from the upcoming Saw X. It's the eyeball trap. Now it's that they have on the posters where the two tubes cross to make an X for Saw X. Now,
yes,
the thing is, it's not super clear what's going on here, but what I can gather from the little bits we see is that dude has to break all the fingers on one of his hands. He's a thief, and so his punishment is to break all the fingers on one hand. Or I think what's going to happen, what I can
is his eyeballs get sucked through those tubes.
That's what I'm guessing. I'm thinking they're vacuums, is what I gathered from the sounds, from the sounds and the way the camera work was happening. It looked like it was pulling on his eye a little bit. So I do think that he's gonna get his eyeballs sucked out through those.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna be able to break all 5 of his fingers.
I have a theory. What's theory, and I bet you I'm right about it.
What's your theory?
That's the opening trap of the movie. You know, they all open with a trap, every single one. Yeah, that's the opening trap of that one.
I believe it. I honestly, because the way they opened up the first trap that they opened up Spiral with, that one was pretty gruesome.
Yeah, I think the only one that didn't open with a trap was Saw 4, which opened with the autopsy scene.
Yes, the autopsy scene, yeah.
But chronologically, right. That actually comes after the events of Saw 4, which runs parallel to 3. It's right. A huge mess with the timeline, but... anyways, okay, well, before we get to all of that gruesome fun, there are some other things we have to talk about, which range in a wide variety of gruesome horror to heartfelt animations to everything in between. And so you know what that means, right?
Media Corner time!
I'm Michael Jordan. McDonald's restaurants have given me this time to talk to you about something we both really care about: drugs.
All right there, everyone. Welcome to the Media Corner, the part of the show where we do either mini reviews of things that we've watched or played or listened to or yada yada recently, or talk about some pop culture news that caught our interest. And once again, Nick, since you weren't here last week, why don't you start off with something?
Yeah, why not? So I watched a movie last night. I watched the live action Little Mermaid.
Oh, okay.
Dude, it was so well done. And Awkwafina as Scuttle was fucking hilarious, bro.
Oh, I am a fan of Awkwafina. I'm very interested.
Yeah, it was good. And Melissa McCarthy, oh my god. Her as Ursula, they could not have picked a better actress to portray Ursula. Whenever, I love Melissa McCarthy because whenever she gets in a role, she does the research for it and performs 10 out of 10 every fucking time, bro. It was awesome.
I do like Melissa McCarthy. She's great. And I've heard from other people who've seen this too that she's possibly one of the best aspects of the entire movie.
Yes.
You can tell she's having a lot of fun with the role and she really leans into it.
Absolutely she does. She sure as hell does, yes.
I've heard also good things about the main actress's singing voice.
Yes.
As well.
Halle Berry. I think is Halle Berry. I don't know. Okay, so the guy that they got to play Eric, I don't know who he is or what else he has been in, but oh my god, is he cute?
I'm sure that was intentional on their end, too. I mean, he's supposed to be like a puppy dog prince, you know?
Yes. Yes. But
I can check. I'm checking real quick.
There was a cameo in this movie.
Jonah Hauer King.
Yes. Okay.
Let's see.
I'm not sure if I've seen anything else that he's been in.
Yeah, probably not. Let's see. He's been in World on Fire, A Dog's Way Home, Little Women, Postcards from London, Old Boys.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, do continue.
No, there was a cameo in this movie. And I don't think it would necessarily be considered a spoiler because it was there was articles about it. The original voice actress that played the voice of Ariel, Jodie Benson. Jodie Benson made a cameo. She was a market vendor, and fun fact about Jodie Benson, she's from Rockford.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They also, and I really appreciate, one of the things I appreciate about the Kingdom Hearts games is when they got the original voice actors for a lot of the Disney characters, and Jodie Benson is Ariel in all of them.
Nice.
So that is nice. Yeah, sometimes they got the best sound-alikes they could, though. Like, they always got James Woods to play Hades from Hercules, because and, but
can't
like...
have anybody else.
In the first game, Hercules is played by Sean Astin as Sam from Lord of the Rings, and
Sean Astin?
Yeah,
nice.
He plays Hercules in the first game, but in Kingdom Hearts 2, Hercules is played by his original voice actor Tate Donovan again.
Gotcha. So, okay.
Yeah, and they did the best they could sometimes. Like, they couldn't get Johnny Depp to play Jack Sparrow in Kingdom Hearts 2, so they got James Arnold Taylor instead, who also voiced Timon in that game because they couldn't get Nathan Lane.
Gotcha.
But fun fact about James Arnold Taylor, he's the voice of Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank. He's the voice of Johnny Test from that cartoon on Cartoon Network. And he's the voice of Tidus in Final Fantasy X.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been in a lot. So I haven't seen The Little Mermaid yet, but it's on my list. It's on my list of things to watch, so I'll have to see how I feel.
Good. Good.
I'm glad you liked it, though. I'm glad you had a good time with it. It's always good to hear people enjoy things.
Yes.
What would you rate it?
I would say... honestly, I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. 8.5 out of 10. Simply because there are some things that you'll understand when you watch this, bro, because there is a point in time where I'm not gonna say what it is, but you'll know it when you see it, because it doesn't make sense.
I've heard some things. I've heard some things too, like the Under the Sea song is sorely missing in a fish-based orchestra playing in the background, like the animated version. Like you can do a lot. You can do a lot more with animation than you can with live action. So it feels like they actually had to cut a lot to make it work, rather than adding things.
No, this specific part that I'm talking about involves Scuttle.
Is it the rap?
No.
Okay.
That was no, not that. No, I actually enjoyed that. Actually,
okay.
They called it Scuttlebutt. Scuttlebutt.
Okay.
I loved it. I loved everything to do with it.
It's Aquafina. Or is it the fact that Scuttle is talking underwater at one point and then goes up for air? Because that makes me laugh. That makes me laugh.
Bro,
that's not a spoiler. That's not a spoiler. You can point that out. That's a CinemaSins thing. You're like a CinemaSins writer in training here. I think I'm rubbing off on you because you're right. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any goddamn sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Like, how are you talking underwater without the air? look, full disclosure. I watched the pitch meeting for this movie already because I was like, it's a remake to a movie I've already seen. How much can possibly be spoiled? You know,
that's fair. Yeah.
So like, I watched the pitch meeting for it, and at one point he was like, "Yeah, so Scuttle's talking underwater and then goes up for air," and the guy's like, you know, he just has like wait a minute. So I get it. I really do. Yeah, you're right. That
like, bro, it doesn't make sense.
That defies the laws of everything. So,
it does.
I also love how when they introduce Scuttle, Scuttle's eating a fish, but Scuttle is also friends with fish. I guess only some fish matter and others don't. So
right.
That's, yeah. Again, I haven't seen the movie, but, like, you know, I've gotten the breakdown, and, like, I'm going to watch it so I can get, like, the full experience, but I know enough to know what you're talking about.
It was fucking awesome, bro. Like, besides the fact that Scuttle was talking underwater like that, it took me a second to realize what was happening, and then I'm like, wait.
Yeah, that's...
How is that fucking possible?
That's great. Oh, man. Okay. Oh. So that seems fair. That seems like a fair rating then, all that. From what I've heard, so...
8.5. 8.5 out of 10. Easily.
So I also did some back-to-back movie watching last night.
Yeah?
And one of those movies I watched, the first one I watched was a horror movie called Talk to Me.
What's that one about?
So this is a very interesting creative horror movie. I'm not going to spoil anything. Do not worry if you haven't seen it and you're listening to this you plan on it. There are no spoilers here. This is your very basic back-of-the-box synopsis, and everything I'm about to say, if anything, will just make you want to see it more. So, hopefully, you know, if you're into these kind of things. If you're not, then you'll have no interest. But this movie, Talk to Me, is such a unique take on your typical ghost seance movies because unlike other horror movies where, you know, the kids try these things, like they try a Ouija board or like a seance or some shit like that, and then things immediately go wrong and they get freaked out.
Yeah.
That's not so much the case here. This is more of like a group of teenagers discover that they can communicate with the dead using this mummified hand of a psychic.
Oh, Jesus fuck.
But they make a game out of it, so they all get together. Of
course they do.
They have some booze, they have some drugs, right? And then they
should.
They hang out, and they do how the process works is you put your hand on the hand. The hand sits on the table, and you put your hand on it, and they light a candle to open the doorway to the other realm, and you say talk to me, and the hand that you're holding suddenly becomes the hand of a spirit from the other side, and they're sitting face to face with you, but only the person holding the hand can see it. If they let go of the hand, then the spirit disappears. They can only see it that way. But that's only part of it. Once you see it, the other part of the game is you have to say, I let you in. Then the spirit briefly possesses you and can see and hear, and so you are passenger in your own body, still holding the hand, right? And the spirit is in your body talking to people in the real world and stuff. And it always becomes like they film this and they put it on TikTok and shit because their friends' reactions and stuff is funny. So like it's unique because instead of becoming like other teen movies where they're partying and hanging out and they become addicted to drugs and booze, they're not becoming addicted to that stuff. They're becoming addicted to channeling spirits and getting funny reactions. It reminded me of, you remember when I used to make Deacon go into VR horror games and record his reactions?
Yes!
That's kind of what this movie was like for me at times, watching some of those scenes. Because, like, the two kids that facilitate this, they're always recording it. And they're always, like, they've got this thing down to a science. They're like, look, you have 90 seconds. If you're in there any longer, then the spirit could fully possess you. They're like, sometimes they don't like to go back. So the first half of this movie is all fun and games in that kind of way. But as you can imagine, something eventually goes horribly wrong, and the movie takes a huge tone shift. It goes from there's this part in the movie where it's like just a montage of them all just like one after the other, like channeling different spirits and having fun with it and like laughing at the reactions and the things the spirits make them do and shit like that. But then anything more than that, I can't say. All I can say is something, obviously, because this is a horror movie, something obviously goes wrong. And from there, the movie takes a huge tone shift, and it becomes very intense and dramatic, and it's not very heavy on the gore and violence in this movie. There is gore and there is violence, but it's so rare that when it does happen, it's all the more shocking. And
gotcha.
Yeah, and it's not just gratuitous, pointless gore either. Like, it's very integral to the narrative. You know, it's important to the story, the things that happen. And it's actually, like, the first super gory scene is actually, like, when the tone shift happens. Okay. And it is insane. And it might be one of the better ghost movies I've ever seen, because it's like every other A24 movie, it borders on comedy sometimes, but then when it gets to the really fucked up parts, it knows how to be fucked up, you know.
Can you stream this anywhere? Is it anywhere available right now?
It just came out digitally for like rental and
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's not available like for free anywhere. You'd have to rent it or sail the seven seas if that's your prerogative.
Right. Yeah, I'm probably just going to wait for it to come to a streaming platform, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does sound interesting. It does. You've got me intrigued.
It's one of those things where when the shift happens, everything becomes so intense and high stakes that it makes you like, it puts you on the edge of your seat, and you're like, oh, how are they going to fix this? You know, this has gone way too far at this point, and I don't know if there's any coming back from it. But you're invested at that point. So it's A24 movies kind of have this way, the way that they're filmed, the cinematography, and they're all different directors, but just something about the cinematography behind a lot of them is that they film their movies in such a way that it makes the characters feel more real. A lot of times in horror movies, when everyone's dying left and right, you're getting just a lot of like stereotypes that with the walking neon death sign hanging over them, like, oh, well, that character's the dumb blonde, so she's gonna die. They're usually annoying characters that you can't stand because you like, and then it makes you want them to die, so you don't feel bad about it. That's not the case in A24 horror movie. A24 horror movies deal with like real down-to-earth people, and it feels like real problems. Their movies, I could almost explain them as like almost documentary style at times. If you've ever seen Hereditary or Midsommar, you'll know
Hereditary was so cringe.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, because it feels like you're watching a real family. At times it doesn't feel like a movie, it almost feels too real. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what I really like about this new wave of horror movies that they've been coming out. I'm calling it new age horror. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but that's my word for it.
That makes sense.
A24 has a unique style, and I appreciate it. Some of their movies are comedy, though. Like Bodies, Bodies. That one is more comedy.
I still need to see that.
But and like Everything Ever All at Once, that one's not even a horror movie. That one is just weird. That one's just really, really weird.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so Talk to Me is definitely a high recommend. It's not, they might have, I think people were overselling it on how quote unquote scary it is, and that always happens, marketing reasons and shit like that. I wouldn't call it scary, but I would say, like other A24 horror movies, it's uncomfortable at times and intense. Like,
fair enough.
That's, as it should be. To me, there's different kinds of horror. There's the horror that where it's horror to the characters in the movie, but for the audience, it's just entertainment. But then there's horror where it involves the audience and makes the audience uncomfortable and makes them squirm too, and that's the good kind. It's psychological horror, and trust me, there's nothing more psychological in the horror realm than putting characters that you genuinely like because they've been developed in a good way, taking them and putting them in hopeless, horrifying situations. You don't care when it's some nameless teenager and his dumb bimbo girlfriend getting it on in the woods and they get macheted through the chest by Jason.
Right.
No one gives a fuck about those two. But who you will give a fuck about is the main characters of this movie, and you will want them to survive. You will want things to work out for them. And that's a good thing about a lot of these new age horror movies is they make characters you care about while still managing to maintain like a very unsettling, uncomfortable, I would even call it oppressive atmosphere of horror in these movies. It's very oppressive. It's very heavy. It weighs down on you.
That makes sense.
Like you've seen Hereditary, so you know what I'm talking about. It feels it almost feels like the movie's trying to suffocate you a little bit,
Yep, a little bit.
With the intensity.
Yeah.
So talk to me, definitely on that same level. It's definitely it's the first half of the movie is a party with ghosts and the second half of the movie is holy shit. That's all I can say.
All right.
Definitely watch that one. I give it. Ooh, this is true. I don't know if I want to go as far as a 9. I would definitely give it a 8.5. You know what? I might give it a 9. I'm reluctant to give it a 9. I give it a reluctant 9, but I give it a official 8.
Okay.
If I'm speaking objectively, it's an 8, but if I'm speaking personally, it's a 9.
There you go.
So,
okay.
What else you got?
You'll have some input on this one. I watched the day that it dropped on Disney Plus on September 13th. I watched Elemental.
Oh, that was the other movie I watched last night in my back-to-back watching. I needed a palate cleanser after Talk to Me, so
fair
this
enough.
movie definitely worked for that.
Okay, so this movie gives off major West Side Story vibes, for sure.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. It was very, very well done. I found myself emotionally connected to the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I this is some real shit. Like, what's gonna happen if they can't, like, touch? Like, this movie was good. Very well done. This was cinema. This wasn't a movie. This was cinema. This was good.
Yeah. Wow, that's a high praise. High praise. I guess that's just a running joke now.
It's
a running joke that we stole from something else.
Yes.
Yeah, I with the West Side Story comparison, I would also even say like there's a forbidden love aspect. Like not quite Romeo and Juliet, but not quite not either.
Right? Yeah. No, it definitely gave off Romeo and Juliet vibes too.
I think there's also like a very obvious, not so subtle metaphor for racism here.
Yeah.
I would say, especially because the fire people immigrated from another land.
Yep.
Well, I don't know, racism or xenophobia. I think it would be one of the two. But it wasn't. Yeah, it was not so subtle. It was very like It was difficult for me though because like I agree with the movie's message wholeheartedly. So that's not by any
it was
means
a phenomenal
whatsoever.
movie.
Yeah, the message is a really good message. The metaphors, as on the nose they are, about like racism and shit, are things I think some people need to hear. But
yes,
you have to have a big suspension of disbelief because there are some parts where it's like, and trust me, this is why I have to be very strong about this part where I say that I agree very strongly with the movie's message, but I do have to point out that from a logistical and realistic point of view, and that there are some parts where I was kind of like, well, they have a point, but it's not what you think. Because,
right.
like, look, they didn't want to let the fire into the museum because they were afraid that yada yada and so on and so But, like, but like that flower was resistant to everything, you know. They were just being mean about. But there were some moments where I thought to myself, where I was like, well, having fire around in this particular setting probably isn't the best thing. And the movie itself kind of validates that by showing scenarios where people kind of have a right to be pissed off at Ember because she's like bumping into them and like burning all their like bushes off and shit, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, obviously in no way, shape, or form does that justify the, you know, prejudice at all. But, like, you know, if you look at these characters as people, then yeah, the message works. But looking at them as elements as they are, there are some, you know, fire is dangerous. I don't know how else to explain. You know, it's kind of it defeats the purpose of the movie if you start looking at it like that, but it is hard not to look at it like that when your brain works like mine.
Yes.
That doesn't diminish the movie at all, though. The movie is good. The movie is really good.
It really is.
I enjoyed it. I noticed that the actors were all, like, the voice, because when I saw the cast listing, it was a lot of people I had never heard of, but all the voices they were doing in the movie sounded like they were trying to channel other actors. Like, the lady who played the Gale, the Cloud Lady, sounded like she was trying to do a Jane Lynch, you know?
Yeah, it did. It sure did. It sure did.
And the girl who played Ember sounded like a mix of, like, Emma Stone and, I can't quite place my finger on it. But there was something else there that I had noticed, too. And I was like, wow, her voice sounds so familiar. And then I looked her up, and it was someone I had never heard of. It was basically all new cast in this movie, which surprised the hell out of me at how good they all were.
Right.
You know, with that being the case. I really enjoyed it, too. Really good message. It's funny, because I said I wanted this movie as a palate cleanser to the horror movie, but then this movie ended up making me cry like 3 different times.
Bro, it'd be like that sometimes though.
But it was good, and it got a couple of good laughs out of me. There was I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna like spoil anything story related or all that, but the food inspector scene made me laugh a little bit, just because of the one line where he's like, "Are you really a food inspector?" And he's like, "As far as you know, I am."
Yes,
that was kind of clever.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, some of those. The movie didn't do very well at the box office, but I hear it's doing better on Disney Plus
Dude,
now.
It's
the numbers. It's getting good numbers.
Yes, absolutely.
Good streaming numbers, and I just added to those streaming numbers, and so did you. So
yes, I did. Launching day, actually.
Not me. For me, it was last night at the time of recording this, but you know.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I did a double feature. I did a horror movie and a Disney movie because that's just how I roll.
Right.
I mean, I am the kind of guy who can go from Outlast to Kingdom Hearts and not blink an eye, so... what would you give Elemental? What rating would you give it?
Okay. Me, personally, if I'm thinking objectively, I'd give it an 8. personally, like I said, that's cinema. That's a 10. Perfect 10 across the board.
Okay. Yeah, I was actually thinking around an 8 too, but I don't know if that's like the I think it's one of those 8s not because it does anything wrong within what it does, but one of those 8s because maybe it's just missing a little something extra. That's all.
Yeah.
For me personally, like I really enjoyed it, but maybe there was maybe something a little more there that and I can't quite place my finger on what could have been there, but it's just one of those, like, it didn't go the extra mile like, say, Toy Story did, what I mean?
You want to hear something funny, though? I watched it twice that day.
Oh, nice.
I fell asleep watching it with my daughter, but we went over to my friend Asher's house, and she was already planning on watching it with her kids, so we just sat there and watched the entire Elemental movie.
Very nice. I do want to say one of the things I really noticed, and it helps too that my TV has Dolby Vision for Disney Plus built into it.
Okay.
So, the visuals on this movie have got to be some of the most photorealistic visuals I've seen in a Pixar movie yet. Like,
dude, you're not lying though.
A lot of those
it was so good.
A lot of those set pieces really honestly look like they just like built mini set pieces by hand and then just zoomed a camera in on them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
They looked real, like a lot of like the cobblestone on the roadways and like
dude,
the water.
The detail though.
Yeah.
The detail.
It was really, really well done. Even the animation of the characters themselves, it was like the characters didn't look as realistic as the environments they were in, but the environments looked so cool. And that underwater scene with the flowers was really pretty.
Yeah, it was.
So yeah, I'd have to agree with the 8 on that. Okay,
Now, is that objectively or personally?
I don't know, both, I would say.
Both? Okay.
Yeah, I would go with both on that one.
Okay.
Now, I won't have a lot to say about this because I haven't put a lot into it, but I needed something to talk about here, so I am talking about, the Crew Motorfest, a little bit. They did it came out recently, and over this past weekend, if by the time you're listening to this it's way too late for this, but as of right now, for a couple hours still available, there is a free trial for the Crew Motorfest that you didn't have to have PlayStation Plus or anything like that for it. It was just a 5-hour trial presented by Ubisoft. You basically download the full game, 32 gigs, and then there's like a timer in it that counts down 5 hours. This game plays almost exactly like Forza Horizon, where you're in a big open world type area and you're driving through this big map where there's other cars and shit you can run into. And you are driving from mission to mission, and then like each mission is a different kind of race, and you're gaining experience and you're like earning money to buy new cars and upgrades and shit. When the game starts, the tutorial introduces you to all the different types of races and environments you're going to be going through in this game, and so it takes you through like this playable montage of different what they call playlists. So it starts as a cutscene, and then it throws you onto the screen, and it's like, our first playlist is made in Japan, and then it shows you all of these like Japanese made cars drifting through the streets, and then you start driving in a race in this playlist. And then once you reach a certain amount of time or a certain point of the race, it hits another cutscene and then shifts to the next playlist, which is off-roading. And then you do the same thing. It goes from cutscene to gameplay, and you get to try it a bit, and then it shifts to another cutscene and throws you into another one. Which like there's different kinds. There was vintage cars, Lamborghini.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and each of these have their own playlists, so... And then, once all that was done, and I had chose my avatar and stuff, and it let me do the open world, it let me choose from a certain couple of playlists to start with, and then, like, after I chose one, that's the one I'd have to do for a while, and then the other ones would, like, unlock as I progressed, so I started with the Made in Japan list, and made my way through that, and each of these playlists has a self-contained story within it. So in the Made in Japan playlist, I met this guy named Hiro who was like taking me through all these races, and as you're racing, you can hear the other racers communicating with each other through the comms in the cars.
Okay.
You know, kind of like how they do in Fast and Furious. So
yeah.
So you can hear them. So even though they're all competing with each other, like it's, you know, they all know each other and stuff, and then they'll say things, you know, you don't talk or nothing, but they'll say things directly to you, because you get to pick a car for driving around the open world and doing custom races and stuff. But you are, when you go do these story missions that are part of playlists, you get a loaner car that you drive specifically for that mission. For each one. So this game is basically Ubisoft's take on Forza Horizon, because the difference between Forza Horizon and Motorsport is Horizon is more of an open world game that has like a lot of off-roading and driving from mission to mission, all that, whereas Motorsport is more of a traditional racing game. I would call Forza Horizon more of a car PG, and that's what this is too. That's what this is too.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So the Crew Motorsport actually is one of the games
Motorfest.
Motorfest.
It's interesting you should say that. It's interesting you should say that, though, because before I forget, one of the playlists is Motorsport. You jump into it and you're driving F1 Formula cars for that one, briefly. Yeah, that one's more professional too, because you have to like your tires wear down when you like drift and stuff, and you have to stop into the pit stop and everything like an actual race.
Gotcha.
So like each playlist is handled differently. Made in Japan is all about drifting. The off-road one is all about off-roading. Obviously, the motorsport one is all about professional racing. You know, so how you drive in the game is handled differently. For each playlist.
That makes sense. But no, the Crew Motorfest is one of the games that did catch my attention during Summer Game Fest.
Yeah.
So I definitely plan on buying this one at some point.
Yeah, it's one of the things I like about it too, because I'm very picky about my racing games. They have to be accessible for me. What I can't stand in a racing game, what'll get me to like quit out and delete it immediately, is if the slightest touch of the joystick or hitting the brake or whatever makes my car fishtail all over the goddamn place. Like if I'm taking a curve and I'm like, and I hit the brakes because I'm trying to, like, I'm used to, like, drifting in Mario Kart and shit. I want to be able to take curves like that. So what I can't stand is, like, when I hit the brakes and then I just keep sliding and slam into the wall. Like, I hate that, like, overly realistic slippery tires bullshit in racing games. I prefer my cars to control tight. I like them to feel like the wheels are fucking glued to the pavement. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And so this game works for me. And also, I'm playing on the easiest difficulty, which kind of helps because they give you a guideline that shows you where you should be driving and where you should be braking as you're racing. And it kind of makes your opponents a little less aggressive, too.
Makes sense.
So at one point, the game was actually like, hey, you're kind of kicking ass with no real opposition. Do you want to up the difficulty a bit? And I'd be like, no, that's the point, asshole. Like,
right.
I want to feel like an unstoppable badass. I'm not in this for the challenge right now.
Right.
I'm in it for fun. I got like 5 hours to play this demo. I'm not trying to be pissed off. I just want to try it, you know?
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, that, So I enjoy it for that. So whenever there were a couple of times where I fucked up, but that's the other thing. This game has a rewind button, just like Forza does. So if you fuck up, you can hold down triangle and rewind up to like I think it's like 20 seconds. So if you crash, you can basically rewind time and try again.
Nice.
Yeah. So I prefer these more like cartoony, over the top racing games than I do the realistic ones. To be honest,
Gotcha.
the realistic ones for car fanatics are not for me, and this one definitely has some car fanatic like fan service for sure. But
does it?
Yeah, 100%. But and that's the only thing about racing games that really doesn't appeal to me is all that like I don't even like doing upgrades to the car because I don't know or care about what any of that means. You know,
right?
You know, I'll just buy a better one. You know, it's just
pretty much that's all you can do
in some of the so. But yeah, I enjoyed what I played of this so far. So I would probably go ahead and I would probably buy the full game, or at least rent it from GameFly when it comes out. Give it the old college try, you know.
Yeah.
But I can't recommend the demo anymore because you won't be hearing this by the time it's out. But I do recommend the actual game, just based off what I played of the demo. So,
yeah.
So what's your third thing?
My third thing, I know I talked about this on a previous episode, but they have a new season of Only Murders in the Building out on Hulu. I don't think they have all of the episodes out yet, but they are. I'm sure they're close to the season finale. I've only watched like maybe a few episodes of season 3 of Only Murders in the Building. Basically, what the show is about is it's these the three main protagonists are played by Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. Now, the premise of the show, Only Murders in the Building, all three of them, along with all of the other residents of the Arconia in New York City, actually. And without spoiling anything, it's basically the premise of the show. There's a murder in the Arconia, and the three of them end up at a diner across the street from the Arconia or something, and they were always bumping into each other on the elevator in the Arconia, so they sat at a table, and they're all listening to the same podcast. And one of them gets the bright idea, hey, we should do a podcast and investigate, because I don't think this was a suicide. I think this was a murder. So they basically do a true crime podcast, and they release new episodes whenever they acquire new evidence based on their investigation. Oh, and something to note, Paul Rudd is in season 3.
Oh, Ant-Man.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. It sounds like a good lineup, like a good cast. That's got to be Steve Martin and Martin Short. Have always been great together.
Nathan Lane is in it too. Let's see who else. Let's see. Let me just pull up the cast list real quick.
What was that?
Okay, so the three main protagonists: Steve Martin. He plays the role of Charles Hayden Savage. Martin Short is Oliver Putnam. And Selena Gomez is Mabel Mora. Let's see. Who else is in this? Tina Fey is in it quite frequently. She's in 9 episodes. But she's not a very nice person in this show. She's she's the lead of another true crime podcast that I'm not so I'm not going. So basically,
oh, they have competition.
Yes, competition.
Okay, it kind of, from what you're explaining, it kind of gives me vibes of that scene in Anchorman where they go to have a standoff with the other news team, and then a bunch of other news teams show up to be part of the standoff.
Yes,
and it's just like an ass load of celebrity cameos.
Yes, yeah, but no. Nathan Lane is in it. Let's see who else. Michael Rappaport. He is in season 2. He's been in a lot.
I'm gonna have to fact check, but that might be pronounced rapport. I could be wrong, but it's one of those goofy ass names, you know.
Yeah.
Like, how do you say Kate Basinger?
Bro, I have no idea.
Exactly.
Meryl Streep is also in season 3.
Meryl Streep's throat.
Oh, and Amy Schumer was in. She was in season 2.
Well, that's unfortunate. Now, if you had said Amy Poehler, then that would have been good.
Yeah, no. Mel Brooks makes a cameo. Jimmy Fallon makes a cameo.
Oh, of course. Sounds like a classic SNL reunion show. You know.
Bro, like, you ain't even joking, though.
That's
but no,
speaking of SNL reunions, real quick, I want to tell you, and I'm going to say it here too. This is not an official entry in my media corner because I'm not going to get into it, but I do have to mention it offhandedly because Martin Short had a show with him for a while, and they're friends, and so John Mulaney has a new stand-up that came out this year on Netflix called Baby J, and he talks about his experience going through rehab and stuff, and how a bunch of his friends who are celebrities, like Fred Armisen and Seth Meyers, who are SNL alumni, had an intervention for him, and they sent him into rehab. And he tells that whole story, and his whole stand-up bit is based around his rehab adventures, and it is some of the funniest fucking shit I've heard in my life. Like, if you haven't watched or listened,
what was the special called?
John Mulaney, Baby J. It's on Netflix.
I think I may have watched some of it.
Oh yeah, you got to watch it to the end. The payoff at the end is great, but I don't want to. I don't want to get into it. Like, that is John Mulaney is one of my favorite comedians. You know, he's one of the.
He's been in a lot of the Comedy Central roasts, hasn't he?
No, I don't think so. Not him. No, but he is good. He is good friends with Pete. He's good friends with Pete Davidson, and he's a former writer for SNL. And he's hosted SNL several times. So, yeah, that's where I know him from. But yeah, he's hilarious guy. His sense of comedy is right up my alley. It's my kind of, witty sarcasm type of humor.
Yes.
Oh shit. So, Only Murders, Season 3, out now on Hulu. That's a Hulu exclusive show, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a Hulu original, yes.
It's on my list. Again, another thing that I haven't watched yet, but it's on my list. I've been meaning to get to it. It's just so many things, so little time. But that one
Steve Martin.
That one's high up the list.
Yeah, no, Steve Martin and Martin Short together, comedy geniuses.
Yeah, they were in a classic movie. Best. I was trying to remember what the hell the name of it was. I wanted to say The Three Caballeros, but I'm like, no, that's the one with Donald Duck and the parrot. It's the Three Amigos, I think.
The Three Amigos, yeah. It was Steve Martin, Martin Short, and then there was also one other.
Yeah, I forget.
Individual, I forget. Hold on, let me fact check that.
Oh, Chevy Chase.
Okay, yeah.
That's right.
Steve Martin, Martin Short.
That's right.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Well, the other thing I have, which will definitely be dated news by the time this episode comes out, but fuck it, I'm going to talk about what I was interested in anyways. Very recently, earlier this week at the time of recording this, PlayStation and Nintendo on the same day both had a quick little, Nintendo Direct and State of Play. Nothing like super big, just like updates on games we already knew about, as well as some minor surprises for indie games and third-party developers. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Nintendo first, and I just want to say that even though it's not exclusive, they announced it at their show. But the original 3 Tomb Raider games for the PS1 are getting remastered across all platforms, getting a remastered collection, which is really cool. And the difference is, like, when they did the side-by-side comparisons of, like, the old version and the remastered version, you can tell the difference. You
definitely can. You definitely can.
They upgraded the character model to make her less polygonal and shit,
Sure, the fuck did.
Made the scenery look more interesting. I wonder if they're going to update the controls to be more modernized, too, so it's not, like...
Maybe.
Such a pain in the ass,
Right, that game was a pain in the fucking ass. Dude.
It was interesting.
I know we talked about it on the, all generations of game consoles. But the one that I love is that in the one where you get to lock the butler in the fridge in the freezer.
That's the second game.
That's the second game. Okay, so that is in this collection. Cool.
You know what? I hope there's a fucking trophy for it. In fact,
me too. That'd be fucking awesome.
That would be, because they did a callback to it in one of the reboots in the Croft Manor DLC. So,
okay, all right,
like a little Easter egg that you can find in a note about how Laura used to lock the butler in the freezer when she was a kid. So, So that's interesting. A lot of stuff that stood out to me in this Nintendo one is mostly like the JRPGs and stuff. Like there was a Emerald Saga or something like that from Square Enix that looked really cool to me.
It did.
But Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door for the Nintendo GameCube is getting a remaster. That was that was a good note.
That and the update, the newest is it a DLC or is it an update for the Mario Kart Deluxe 8?
Yeah, it's
they're adding a track from the Mario Kart Wii.
Yeah, they're adding
which track.
They're adding 2 cups worth of tracks, actually, and it's the final wave of DLC. So for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch, there's a DLC you can buy. It's $25. It's a booster pack, and basically what it gives you is extra characters and tracks that come in waves, and I bought it when it first came out. So every month this year, they've been releasing a new wave of tracks and characters for people who have this booster pass. And
nice.
The last wave is coming out later this holiday season, and I'm excited for it.
They're adding some characters from Mario Kart Tour, the mobile game.
Diddy Kong is going to be in there too. They're adding Diddy Kong and Funky Kong, and Paulina
and Peachette.
Peachette, yeah. And so, if you have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, there are 2 ways you can get this booster pass. You can either pay $25 to buy it as the DLC, and once you buy it, the booster pass, it will entitle you to every single wave that's come out thus far,
Nice. Okay.
And then you just have to wait for the next one in line. Or if you have the more expensive version of Nintendo Switch Online, the booster pack version or whatever, that's like the $50 a year or whatever, that one that also gives you more virtual console stuff too.
Yeah.
That automatically comes with that DLC, as well as DLC for Animal Crossing as well.
Nice.
So
okay.
Yep, so it entitles you to it. So yeah, I'm excited for that. The new Mario stuff and all that. Looks like Princess Peach is getting her own game, which I think we already knew about, but I kind of forgot about. But it was a good reminder.
Yeah, it was
to see that. So it's a pretty decent show overall. And then PlayStation also had some.
Theirs
stuff.
was shorter than Nintendo's. Nintendo's was a tad bit longer.
Yeah, Nintendo's was like 40 minutes. PlayStation's was like just over 20 minutes.
Yeah, the only thing that really like stood out to me during the PlayStation state of play was Avatar Frontiers of Pandora.
Yeah, so we got an update on Avatar, but I was gonna say we got another update on Spider-Man 2 as well.
We did, yeah, we did. No, about all the different
the suits.
The suits, yeah, dude, I'm excited. I am so ready to play that game. I'm like, bro, I am so ready. I'm here for it.
Me too. Spider-Man 2, Alan Wake 2. It's about to be a busy fall,
bro. It is.
It's about to be a busy fall season. Yes. Yeah, that, and then for me, obviously, the big thing was at the end. Both of those things you mentioned, I'm interested in, but also we got another trailer for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Part 2 in the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy, and I'm super excited for this because a lot of the things they showed, as someone who's played through the original, was super nostalgic and on point, just like in a different, like I was like, oh, there's the buggy that you drive around to get over certain terrain, and they showed different colored chocobos, and the green ones can fly and the black ones can climb up cliffs, and they showed the gold saucer, which is a casino area that you visit in the original game, and they showed the mini games that you can play there. That's been a big thing in Final Fantasy games. Almost all of them has some kind of like casino type area where you can play mini games.
Yeah, still no mention of Grand Theft Auto 6 though. I'm kind of disappointed.
No,
I'm really
hoping that they're not going to show that off at something like this.
I know
it's going to be saved for a big event like the Game Awards or something.
Dude, could you imagine if they announced that at the Game Awards?
We'll do our Game Awards speculation episode in November.
Okay.
Yeah, once they announce the nominees, then we'll do.
Hello there, Nibbler.
But yeah, so I'm just like, it is a fucking 3.5 minute trailer. That is a lot to be showing you for a game, and that means that the game itself is going to be fucking chunky as shit. It's going to be a long, big game. I'm excited. I looked at the guest characters that we're getting. They showed Vincent Valentine at the end. I'm excited.
Bro, that new Spider-Man game looks fucking fire.
Also, if I had the PSVR 2, I would love to play the Resident Evil 4 remake on that. That would be be nice.
Yeah.
But I don't have it yet. I will get it eventually because I want to do a Let's Play of Switchback, which is the spiritual successor to Until Dawn Rush of Blood. But I was trying to think if there was something. So there is a DLC coming out for a JRPG game called Tales of Arise, which is a game I enjoy. Tales of is a pretty decent, underrated JRPG series that I actually am going to give more in-depth attention to when we're eventually going to do a Hidden Gems Part 2, folks, and that's
yes.
I'll probably talk about that series over there a little bit, but it's getting a DLC. We got a trailer for that, which was pretty cool. So, and the Resident Evil 4 remake is getting its Separate Ways DLC where you play as Ada Wong. Which is, something that was in the original is a different. In the original game, once you beat it, you unlocked Separate Ways as a separate campaign you could play. So, hopefully it's a free DLC. Hopefully they don't charge for something that was in the original version as an unlockable. But so not a whole lot to get into with either of those. Those were kind of like the major standouts for me.
Right, no.
Either way. But, so, with all that in mind, if anything, it's all just, made me more excited for things that I already knew about, but, got to see more of, I was like, yeah! I want more of that. And is that Baby Steps game, by the way, I'm more than anything excited to watch my favorite YouTubers rage out over that shit.
Bro, that Baby Steps game looked so much like it looks frustrating, but it looks fun.
Yeah, because it's one of those intentionally bad controls games where it's like it's like QWOP or Getting Over It, where it's supposed to be frustrating.
You know? Also like Octodad?
Yes, or like Octodad, yes. Yep. I guess I don't know what the genre is for those. I guess they're QWOP types.
I guess, yeah.
QWOP is what started all that. You remember?
It's purposely broken, just like Goat Simulator.
Do you remember QWOP though? How complicated that was. The
No, I don't. Actually, I don't.
That's the game that started all this. Was a game you could play on your browser where you had to control a horse with the key WOP keys on your like each one was a different leg for the horse. On the keyboard, and that's why they called it QWOP, key WOP. That's the thing that started all this. So,
okay.
But anyways, well, that's our media corner for this episode.
Yes.
So, in the infamous words of Jigsaw himself, it's time to play a game.
Hello. You don't know me, but I know you. I want to play a game.
All right, everyone, welcome to this episode's topic of interest and the top. And in honor of the upcoming Saw X, we decided I've been wanting to do a tier list for a while, so this episode is going to be a tier list, but it's going to be a tier list of a random assortment of 37 different traps from the first 7 Saw movies. So,
let's go.
Yes. So for those of you who don't know what a tier list is, it's basically, think of a school grading list, A, B, C, D, and F, and then add the letter S to it. In Japan, S is the highest grade you can get in school. So a lot of video games, like Sonic the Hedgehog and Guitar Hero and Devil May Cry, have the S rank as the highest rank you can get when you're being scored and graded for your performance at the end of a level or a song or whatever. So that idea has been taken into tier lists for different things, and people do this all the time. You've probably seen YouTubers like Markiplier or the Game Grumps do tier lists for fast food restaurants and tier lists for Five Nights at Freddy's characters and tier lists for Pokemon and shit like that. So, so we're doing it for Saw traps. So basically, S is the best of the best, the highest ranking you can get, and F is the lowest of the low, and then of course everything else comes between that. And we're going to be ranking these based off of a huge assortment of different reasons. We're going to be discussing and possibly debating each one and where we think it should go. And if we're basically in agreement, then we'll put it in that section. But if we are pretty heavily split on it, then we'll have to find somewhere in the middle to throw it. And kind of maybe decide the stronger argument on that one. But I get the feeling that these are all going to be pretty easy to figure out. So
yes.
So with that in mind, 2 warnings before we get this going. The first of which is that this is obviously going to contain spoilers for the first 7 Saw movies. Now, there are no traps in this tier list from Jigsaw and Spiral, so this was probably made before those came out. That being said, though, at the end of this, we may have a discussion about some of our favorite traps from those, because I do want to talk about our favorites as well. So I'll warn you before that part comes if you're worried about spoilers, but also, it's impossible to talk about these without going into gratuitous detail of what exactly happens in these traps and what they do and how, because I'm going to have to... Because for the people who are only listening and not watching the video version, I'm going to have to explain each of these. If you're watching the video version, you can see on screen right now all of the images of each one in the tier list. So anyways, if you are perhaps sensitive to gore and violence and stuff like that, even if it's just being explained in verbal detail, which can sometimes be worse, because if you've never seen these movies and you sit here and hear me explain this, your imagination may paint a worse picture than what was actually on screen. So
right.
So that's the other thing too. So if this is not your kind of thing, if this ain't your kind of bag, I recommend peacing out now. I promise you, we will not be offended if you choose to leave the episode before we get into this.
Absolutely not. Yep.
Yeah, it's not. That is not at all. We understand. We definitely do. Not all of these topics will be for everyone. I mean, we're gonna have an episode coming up around Halloween that is exclusively horror focused, so there's a little something for everyone here on this show, but not everything is for everyone on this show. Is the best way to put it. But that's because we cover all things pop culture and nerd culture, not just one or two things, all of it. So and this time, part of all of it is Saw, because that's what's on everyone's mind right now. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, anyways, enough dilly-dallying and warnings. You've been warned. If you're still here, that's on you at this point. We're gonna get into it. So,
all right.
We're gonna start with.
Let's go.
I don't know if I want to start in the order that they put them in on here, because I gave you a list that's in order, so that might be easier, but...
Yeah.
Fuck it. So the first one is the Angel Rack Trap from Saw 3. Now, this is the one that, that Carrie... So, Carrie is, she works with the detectives. She is the detective that Eric Matthews was having an affair with in the second movie.
Okay.
He was the guy played by Donnie Wahlberg, whose son went missing. In the third movie...
Okay.
In the third movie, one of the early traps in the movie sees her wake up in this machine strapped to the ceiling where these hooks are hooked into her rib cage, and a key is in a cup of acid in front of her, and she's told if she can get the key out of the acid with her hand and unlock the thing, she'll go free. And she succeeds, but she doesn't go free, and the machine goes off and rips her ribs out anyways, and we later learn that's because it was an Amanda trap, and Amanda's traps were unwinnable. So
that shit's fucking insane.
Yeah, I have to say, this is probably one of the most memorable traps in Saw 3, and also one of the most iconic traps in the franchise. I don't know if it's like... I mean, it's really good in that scene at the end where she knows she's about to die, and she puts her arms up and grabs the chains, and it's like... It's very symbolic, kind of, almost.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's really filmed really well. It might be just missing maybe one tiny little aspect that makes it, like, pushes it over the edge like so many others, but I would, and maybe I'm just being superfluous here, but I would put it in A here, if for no other reason than A for Angel Rack.
There you go. I mean, why not?
Do we agree with that one, or do you think it deserves...
Yeah, why not?
Or do you think it deserves S or lower than A? Like...
See, I have to look at the list, because I know my favorite trap...
I mean, these don't all... Like, there's 37 of these, and only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 letter grades, so obviously several are going to go in the same spot. That's why on my screen I can click and drag them, so there's just going to be like a row of them in each. I'm hoping that we fill up each letter category, that there's at least one thing in each category. But I guess that depends on how he feels. So I'm gonna put the Angel Rack Trap from Saw 3 in A. I feel like that's a fair spot for it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a fair spot for it. Yeah, let's not spoil our favorites until we get to them.
Okay.
So A works for you on that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So the next one is also from Saw 3. It's the freezing room trap from Saw 3. This is part of Jeff's line of tests where he had to decide whether or not to forgive 3 different people involved in the hit and run that killed his son. So, and the woman was a witness, and then there's the judge, and then there's the guy who actually ran him over. So this woman, he walks up and he finds this woman chained up naked in a meat freezer, and she's being sprayed with cold water. He has to grab this key to get her out, and he has to rip a little face skin off on a frozen pipe in order to get it. And he doesn't get to her in time. He does try, to his credit, but he hesitates for too long, and she freezes to death.
Okay.
I don't. There was the very first test in Jeff's line of traps in Saw 3. I know a lot of people really like this one, but for me personally, this one's a C. I think. And then no, I'm not being a smartass. It's not C for cold. It's it's although I
might as well be.
I could make that argument, but no, it's C because it's not, for one thing, it's not gory like the other deaths are. She just turns into a nipsicle. And
yeah, pretty much.
And, like, Jeff is annoying in this movie because he hesitates too goddamn much. He takes way too long. Yeah. And the only person he does manage to save ends up dying anyways.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
like, and then, like, every time he's like, I tried to save you, please, I forgive you. It doesn't fucking matter when they're dead.
No, don't. It really doesn't.
But, like, but this one didn't really have much to it. It was a very simple setup. Oh, she's in a cold freezer, she's being sprayed with water, she freezes to death at the end. Like, it's not elaborate, it's not over the top, it's not like some kind of Rube Goldbergian nonsense like some of the later stuff. It's not creative. It's one of their least creative ones. It's not bad, though. There is a special place in F for one particular trap from Saw 7 that I have a strong argument for, and that might be the only one that goes in F for me, but it's going there.
Okay.
But this one, I would put this one in C because it's just very average. It's just like right in the middle. It's barely passing. On the thing. But the next one in line is also from Saw C, and this is the pig vat trap where the judge is chained to the bottom of the thing, and the pig corpses are being ground up and spewed on them, and he's slowly drowning in pig guts. In order to get the key to save the judge from this trap, Jeff has to burn the belongings of his dead son, all of his stuffed animals and photos and shit.
I couldn't.
So this one,
I couldn't.
This one I want to rank highly for that part alone. This is actually the most emotional trap. Even though it's disgusting, it's a disgusting-ass trap. This one is gross. But because of what Jeff has to do in order to get the key to save the judge, it adds a lot of emotion to it. It adds a lot of depth, and it's the only one where he actually manages to save someone. So I don't want to put it in A because it's really fucking disgusting, but I think it deserves credit for the emotional aspect. So I kind of want to put it in B.
I would let the judge just drown in pig gut. There's no way in hell I am burning my son's stuff to save someone else's life. No.
The big part of it for Jeff, though, because part of his test was that the death of his son became like something of an obsession with him. Like even after so many years after it happened, he was just he couldn't move on from it, and it was ruining his life. So that part, I think, part of that test was teaching him how to let go. Was part of it too.
Yeah,
not that it justifies
sense.
All this torture and shit, obviously, but
right. No, that makes sense.
But how do you feel about putting this one in B for the reasons I mentioned? Or
yeah, I say that's fair. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, also another reason is because they used real maggots on those pig corpses. I just want to point that out in the behind the scenes.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah. So, one of the things I always loved about the older Saw movies is that they went with practical effects whenever they could instead of CGI.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly.
That was really well done. So the next one from Saw 3 is extremely iconic. It might be one of
the twisting crucifix.
The twisting crucifix, aka the rack, might be the most controversial trap in the Saw franchise.
This is one of my favorite traps.
Yes.
One of my favorite traps. Yes, I've always enjoyed the twisting crucifix.
Yep, so this is the one where the drunk driver that hit the kid is chained up to this rack, and it slowly twists his arms and legs around one by one until they snap, and then ends with his head.
Yes. Yes.
And Jeff tries to save him, but he doesn't do it in time. The judge gets killed by the shotgun the key's tied to in the process.
Yes.
So Jeff basically ends up saving nobody.
Right.
But, yeah, this one, I think is probably one of the most talked about traps. It's also one of the most difficult to watch for a lot of people from what I've heard. Like they said, out of every trap in every movie, this one is the one that still makes them squirm every time.
Yes.
So I think just because of sheer brutality and what the fuckery and memorableness and, like, making the audience uncomfortable and, like, how it became, like, a water cooler conversation trap and all that. This one's going in S.
Going in without question, S.
Yeah, S rank for the twisting crucifix. Okay. So the next one is from Saw 4 from a flashback scene, and it is the knife chair, which we get. This is Jigsaw's first trap that he ever made for anyone. It was for a guy named Cecil back when his wife Jill was working at the recovery center for drug addicts. Cecil, who was Amanda's boyfriend at the time, went in there to steal some medication, and when he came out, he ended up. Jill was pregnant at the time, and he ran out too far and smashed her belly behind the door and caused her to miscarry. So, John, after the death of his unborn kid, and after the the cancer diagnosis and all that, drives off a cliff in an attempt to unalive himself, but he survives and he has a pole sticking out of him he has to pull out, but he lives. So it gives him a new lease on life, and he decides, well, like, I survived a near-death experience and had to suffer some pain. He's like, so now others will do the same. So, of course, his first test subject is the guy who murdered his unborn child, Cecil. And he tells him he just has to push his face through these knives and, and the wrist straps will let go on his arms. It was his first trap. It was a prototype, so, he tries to do the trap, and he squirms a bunch, and then the chair ends up breaking underneath him. He gets up and tries to fight John, but ends up flying into a bunch of barbed wire and dying in the struggle, and John takes notes that he will use for a later trap.
Yes.
So this is actually it being a like, I get all the story reasons behind it and stuff, but this is a prototype trap. It wasn't well built. It wasn't a super effective thing. Dude didn't learn anything. Like it was kind of flimsy and uneventful, not a very, and Cecil's death was kind of like anticlimactic as well. So I don't know if I want to go as far as F, but I would put this one in D, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's maybe being too harsh on it, but it just wasn't. It just wasn't the most. Wasn't the most entertaining or memorable trap to watch. Like, I remember it because of what it means for the story, but like, and yeah, watching him push his face through those knives was kind of painful, but it wasn't nothing special,
No.
It wasn't like anything super up there. So I'm gonna put this one in D. The next one, also from Saw 4, is the main trap of the movie, where we see Detective Eric Matthews is chained up to the ceiling, and he's hanging on a melting ice block. And after everything he's been through in Saw 2, he ends up here. And then in the room, controlling the game, is Art Blank, Jigsaw's lawyer, who survives the opening mausoleum trap in the movie, which we'll get to later. And he's got a spinal cutter attached to his back, so he's got to follow the rules or risk getting killed. And then Detective Hoffman, who is one of Jigsaw's cronies, is pretending to be tied up in the electric chair in danger of being electrocuted, but really he's just pulling a Jigsaw 2.0 and pretending to be a character in the trap the whole time. So
yes.
So basically that's what this one is just that whole room, that whole main trap, which everyone dies except for Hoffman anyways, because Rig ends up going through the door sooner than he's supposed to. His whole thing was to slow down, and he was supposed to wait for the timer to run out instead of get there before it ends, but he got there too soon with 3 seconds on the clock and got everyone killed. Eric Matthews got his head smashed together by 2 falling ice blocks. Art got shot and he died, and then, Rig got shot too, and then Hoffman gets up and walks away. So, so how do we feel about this room overall as a trap?
Bro.
And the whole plot twist of Hoffman being a Jigsaw apprentice.
So, with Hoffman being Jigsaw's apprentice, bro, that's what threw me for a loop. This one, I'd have to say... I feel like I'd be too generous putting it in S. It's gotta go...
No, it's definitely not an S. I think it's actually way lower than that, if I'm being honest. I don't know if I'd put this one at A either. It doesn't really match up with the, it's like they tried to do the same twist from the end of the first movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about it, but, what I will say it has going for it is that this is where you find out that Saw 3 and 4 are happening at the same time. And then, all those other flashbacks you get in later movies kind of show how Hoffman, manipulated everything to his advantage. But,
yes.
As far as, I don't know, I feel like it's almost mean-spirited because after everything Eric Matthews, a.k.a. Donnie Wahlberg, went through in Saw 2, and, he... and he broke his foot to get out of those chains, and then he fought with Amanda, and, he was kept prisoner for months. It was, 6 months, that he was kept prisoner, only to have his head smashed by those falling ice blocks, which was pretty cool, I will give it that.
Yeah.
But everyone else died kind of lame in that. The other two, they just got shot, or whatever, I would be okay with putting this one in B. It seems like you want it pretty high, and I want it pretty low, so we could put it somewhere in the middle.
B sounds about right.
I would be okay with putting this one in B. It's
I can agree with that.
Yeah, if only for the ice blocks. The ice block part is cool.
Yeah.
That's a pretty nifty death that they had to do. The man's head exploded like a watermelon.
Sure the fuck did.
Okay, so the next one, this one is the skewer trap. So this is from Saw 4, and this is when Rig is being tested, going from person to person, telling them his whole thing is that he can't save everyone. They have to be allowed to save themselves. And in this one, it's a callback to when him and Detective Hoffman dealt with a domestic abuse case at the school. So he goes to the school, and this woman and her abusive husband are tied together. And by the time he gets there, the husband's already dead. But flashbacks show you that the trap was basically that they had rods going through them and going through her in safe spots, but going through him in vital organ places. And so the test was for her to see if she would be willing to pull the rods out of both of them, causing herself some pain because she's got to pull the rods out of her too. But she would kill her husband in the process, letting go of him and his because he's an abusive asshole. So is she willing to to kill him to save herself in this situation? So,
right.
So interesting creativity here. I almost kind of feel like John got the idea when he was impaled in his car crash to kind of do this one.
Probably.
So, just for the fact that a abusive asshole is getting what he deserves, I want to put this one high, but not too high because it's not super special. It is painful to watch, though, but it's a very simple one. It's just, they're skewered with rods that she has to pull out, very easy, if honestly, I would say, because she wasn't hitting any vital places. It's going to hurt like hell, but, I would rather pull a rod out of me than like break all the fingers on my hand or something, you know, like. I would. What do you think, B or C for this one?
B.
B? Okay.
Yeah. B.
So the next one is another part of Riggs' tests in 4. He goes to this seedy motel where it's revealed that this guy named Ivan has been forcing himself on these women and recording the videos and stuff. So Rigg has
the Red Room trap.
Yeah, so Rigg has to force him to get into his trap. His test is to force this guy into his test. And so he does. He forces him onto the bed where his arms and legs are tied up, and he puts the buttons in his hands. And Jigsaw tells this Ivan guy that because his lustful eyes have caused him to do these heinous deeds, that in order to survive, he has to stab his eyes out. He hits the buttons, and like these little claws come down and stab his eyes out. But he doesn't. He does one eye, but he doesn't do the other one in time. The timer goes off and rips all his limbs off and kills him.
Jesus fuck.
Yeah, so basically a R-wordist got what he deserved.
Yes.
So again, this is still in Saw 4. So how do we feel about this one?
This one
depends on how well you remember it. You know how violent it was. You know whether or not the person in it deserved it. That kind of shit.
I'd say the person deserved it. I'd put this in an A.
A for this one, really?
Feeling generous, yeah. Feeling generous.
Okay. I don't know if I totally disagree with that. It's just... I definitely want to, for me, I guess it's more of like a, what are some of the most memorable and iconic traps in the franchise kind of go closer to the top for me. But I wouldn't say this is one of the most memorable or iconic ones. But a bad guy got what he deserved, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll cave on this one and we'll put it in A because we don't have a lot of things in A yet, so... Okay. So the next one is the Mausoleum Trap, which is actually the opening trap from Saw 4, where the lawyer Art and this other guy are both chained up to this machine that is slowly pulling them in towards each other. And one of them has their eyes sewn shut, the other one has their mouth sewn shut, and they either have to work together or kill each other to survive. And Art wins. So, how do you feel about this one? I like the creativity of the one can't talk and the other can't see. That's a very interesting touch.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say this one's more iconic.
I mean, it's iconic in the sense that it's an opening trap. I'm not sure if it's like one of the best ones in the series, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think this is a B trap for me, if I'm being honest. It has...
Yeah, I'd have to say.
It's more of an action fight scene than it is a traditional trap, if I'm being...
Yeah.
If I'm being fair. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna go... I think that one's a B.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I didn't want to be mean and put that one in C because it's a little bit better than that, but okay, let's see. The image is a bit small for me. So what's the next one here? It's
the hair crank trap.
Oh, yeah, also from Saw 4. Okay, so also part
this
of
one's
Riggs
more
tests.
this one is more iconic. I remember this one very
This one is memorable.
Very well.
This one is memorable. I will say, yeah, especially, I know a lot of women with long hair that have not forgotten this one.
No, yeah.
But yeah, Rigg finds this woman in the apartment. She's chained up to the chair. The gears are pulling her hair back, slowly scalping her, and he has to, like, either let it be or save her. And, you know, when he saves her, she tries to kill him, and he fights her and wins. So, this one is definitely painful to watch.
Yes.
So, it's not quite S tier for me. I'd be willing to put it in A, though. I think.
Yeah, A for sure.
Just because this one is creative and it's got that rustic classic Saw feel to it. You know, it's a slow grinding gear machine type deal. And it's just grody. So, yeah, I go with that one. The next one is the bathroom from the first movie, the bathroom trap, the main event of the first movie.
The opening scene, yes.
Not even the opening scene, it's just it's the entire movie. It's like the main trap of the movie. Because each movie has like a main trap and a lot of sub-traps surrounding them. The bathroom trap is the main trap of this first Saw movie. It's where most of the movie takes place. Dr. Gordon and Adam are both trapped in here. They're trying to survive and get out. Gordon's trying to get to his family. They're being watched by Zepp, who's recorded by Jigsaw, who is laying on the bathroom floor the whole time pretending to be a corpse. And that moment when he gets up at the end and reveals that he's the mastermind behind all of this, and he's been alive, laying on the floor the whole time, and he's like, the key to that chain was in the tub, and then it like flashes back to the key going down the drain when he woke up. That shit was insane. That was one of the best plot twists in movie history. And then the Hello Zepp theme is playing, and the music the music goes da-na-na, da-na-na, na-na-na-na-na, and he's like, game over, and closes the door on him. Like, that shit. Oh, to this day, it still gives me goosebumps. This is S tier, no question. Like, straight to the top.
S tier, absolutely. Now,
like, that's what kicked off a whole franchise right there, and they filmed most of that movie in a bathroom, and it's as good as it was.
Now, this next one,
the pendulum trap from Saw 5. The opening trap of Saw 5.
I love this trap. And I'll explain it. I'll explain why. Because when I was in high school, I read a short story by an author of the name Edgar Allan Poe.
Never heard of him. Must be an indie writer.
I caught the sarcasm there.
Well, the way you set it up, you know.
But no, it was the story was The Pit and the Pendulum. So I instantly fell in love with the idea of a pendulum. So this is a big one for me. I am going to be extremely generous and grade this in S.
You know, I don't have a strong argument against that, because I gotta be honest, like I said, they like to use practical effects, and the behind the scenes for this one showed that they went as practical as they possibly could. For some shots they used a styrofoam blade, but for some shots they used a real blade. And the upper half of the actor's body was actually the actor, whereas the lower half was all prosthetics while his actual body was hidden under the table, and they filled the prosthetics with like nylons of fake meat and blood packs and shit, so that when the blade hit it, it actually swung it out, and they got all that in one take. They used prosthetic hands and styrofoam clamps for the crushing of the hands.
Makes sense.
That was so cool. And also, it's like Hoffman's first trap that you find out he sets up to look like a Jigsaw trap, because he's actually just killing the guy who killed his sister, and got released early on a technicality. And that's how Hoffman meets Jigsaw, because he doesn't like his name being used when it's not his work. So, so the way that whole thing was done, just a very well done trap. I'm going to agree with you. The pendulum trap goes in S tier. But maybe generous with the S's, but it's all good. So the next one is the water box.
The water box.
Which is probably the iconic poster trap from so there's two iconic traps from Saw 5. There's the pendulum one, which is the opening trap, and then there's the water box trap, which is the poster trap. And that one is Agent Strom from the FBI has been caught by Hoffman. He put him in this box that's filling up with water, and it's not meant for him to survive. It's meant to kill him. It's meant to, you know, because Hoffman's whole thing is that he wanted everyone to die, so basically he set it up so that Amanda screwed up the game for Jeff and his wife, and Jeff killed John, and yada yada. So Amanda and John die, and Jeff and his wife die, and all the people in those traps die. And then in the fourth movie, everyone dies too, and Hoffman is the only one that walks away. But Peter Strahm was a thorn in his side, so he tried to kill him too. His whole thing is that he is a power-hungry narcissist. He has megalomania, aka narcissistic personality disorder. He wants power. If anything, like, John Kramer is like the original Jigsaw and everything too, but one could argue that Hoffman is the true villain of the whole series. You know?
Yeah.
He becomes way more evil than John ever was in the later movies.
Yeah.
So. And that's also when it goes from being like old school grindhouse 90s music video torture porn movies to basically being Criminal Minds. You know, it turns into a cop drama in the second half of the franchise.
Bro, it's so still to this day, this is like one of my all-time favorite franchises in horror.
Yes. But so this water box trap, Peter wasn't supposed to survive it, but he does because he takes a pen, jabs himself in the neck, and like pulls all the innards out so he can breathe through the tube. There's a word for it. I forgot what it is, like a tracheometry or some shit like that.
Tracheotomy.
Tracheotomy. He gave himself a tracheotomy with a pen. And trigonometry. So, how do we feel about this one? It's not the most eventful one, but it is, like, props to him for being smart enough to survive this, what is obviously meant to kill him, thing. It is a poster trap, but, it's basically...
The water box?
I will say the actor actually, like, they actually filled that thing, put his head in that and filled it with water so they could get realistic shots. So they had to, like, do multiple takes of that scene.
Risking the man's life every fucking time, too.
So I kind of want to put it in A just for, like, the practicality of how well shot it was. You know?
Yeah.
It's an A or B for me on this one.
I'd say I have to agree with you with A.
A, yeah. Plus, Peter Strahm is just such a badass for surviving that the way he did.
Right.
The next one is the opening trap of the Fatal Five. The Fatal Five being the main trap of Saw 5, where the five
collar.
The 5 people involved in the burning down of what they thought was an abandoned building for insurance money that turned out to have a bunch of homeless people living in it that they caused the deaths of. So these people are... The main thing of this entire series of traps is that they're all supposed to go against their natural instincts to be selfish and actually learn to work together. They are all 5 meant to survive all 5 of these traps, but they immediately think that they're supposed to sacrifice one of them each time, and it really fucks them in the end. So that's kind of like the big twist to this one, but it's also, like, at the same time, the most predictable twist in Saw history. For a lot of people. So this opening one is where they have collars around their necks, and when one of them runs forward to get the keys from the glass boxes, another one gets their collar pulled back closer towards these, like, V-shaped blades for Saw 5, a Roman numeral. And one person doesn't survive because they don't get their key in time. The timer runs out, and all the collars get pulled back to the blades, and she gets decapitated. And later we find out that one key would have worked for every collar, so that was their first fuck-up. They let someone die right away when they didn't have to. But anyways, a pretty simplistic trap with a bunch of idiots not knowing what they're supposed to do. A very simple, not very effective decapitation. This one is like a C or D for me. I don't know how you feel about it.
I'd say C.
Kind of an uneventful opener for a 4-trap, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Kind of a C for this one. Moving right along into the next stage of the Fatal 5, the explosion room, where they have to break the glass jars above them to get these keys with shapes on them to open up these sewer tunnels that they could go hide in before the room blows up. And
yes.
all of them are big enough for more than one person to fit in, but they didn't realize. They only see 3 and immediately think to themselves, well, one of us has got to die.
Right.
And the bald guy with the glasses dies here. He doesn't get into one of the rooms in time, and he blows up. It was nail bombs. That's what it was. A bunch of nail bombs that go off.
Yep.
Sure was. I will say...
I remember that.
I will say, props to creativity for the keys themselves. And they used in the behind the scenes I watched for this one, they used rubber glass for those jars, so they were breaking, so they still used practical effects and all that, and they once again used prosthetics for the aftermath of the nail bombs, which was super gnarly. Overall, though, still not like the most. I gotta be honest. Most of the traps in the Fatal 5 are like C's and D's for me, except for the last one.
The handsaw trap?
Yeah, that one's a little bit higher. This glass one, though, the exploding glass room, this one's kind of a C for me.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that.
The nail bomb one. And then the next room is the bathtub one.
The electric bathtub.
Yeah. So if all 5 of them were still alive at this point, they would each hold a wire and touch the tub and suffer a small shock to open the door. But since only 3 of them are alive at this point, they throw one of them in the tub and stab them with the fucking things to sacrifice them to the door so they can open it. It's pretty simple. Somebody ends up in a tub, they get electrocuted, and they get stabbed a couple times. It's not very eventful. This one's a D for me.
Yeah, hands down.
It's I mean, what I think we can really say about it. R.I.P. Brenda Good. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good knowing you. But then the climax of this trap, the handsaw trap, where they find out, oh shit, there's 5 holes here. We were each supposed to put our hands in these and let the saw blades cut our hands a bit and sacrifice a little blood. But now 2 of us have to sacrifice enough blood for 5 people.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oopsie doodle. This one, I'm going to put a little bit higher. I want to put it in either B or A because it's just so fucking gnarly. That saw blade goes halfway up their arm,
Uh-huh.
Like, they survive it, too, but, like, when the girl picks her arm up, it, like, literally, like, splits in half.
Yeah, it sure the fuck does. And it's gruesome as fuck.
Yeah, it's this one, like, you can tell that, like, after a while, they just couldn't feel the pain anymore, and their bodies were about to pass out from blood loss.
Uh-huh.
Like, they went into shock.
Yeah.
I don't know, B or A for this one. It's a tough one for me.
A.
We're gonna put this one in A? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that. But now, the infamous ending trap from Saw 5, where after the cat and mouse game between Strahm and Hoffman culminates in a tragic end for Peter Strahm, where if he had only listened to the tape, he would have survived. But he's told to get into a glass box filled with glass, where he'll have to lay on the glass and hurt himself a little bit, but he'll survive the room. He doesn't listen, and he throws Hoffman in the box instead and thinks he has the upper hand until he listens to the rest of the tape and finds out that glass box was the only way to survive this room, because now the door is locked and the walls are slowly closing in Star Wars garbage compactor style, and poor Peter Strahm gets smushed by the walls. There's a really gnarly scene where he's got his arm between 2 of the walls and, like, the bone pops out and the blood sprays down on the glass coffin that Hoffman's laying in. And yeah, it's just one of the most like haha the villain won scenes I've ever seen, Yeah. It was fucking brutal, and like, damn. That one's pretty good. They once again did prosthetics the best they could. They actually built moving walls on a set in order to film this scene.
Nice.
Yeah, it was crazy how much effort they put into this shit. So that one I want to give not an S, but I would put the crushing wall in A territory. I mean, it's a Star Wars homage. It's like, be honest, how many like horror or thriller movies do you see where you actually get to see someone crushed by moving walls,
Not very many.
Like, you get to see a lot of them where they almost die, but how many times do you actually see it happen? You know?
Never.
So...
Saw did it first.
So, probably not first, but they definitely did it.
Yeah.
So the next one is the public execution trap from the opening of Saw 7. This is where the two guys and the girl that's been cheating on both of them with each other, they wake up and they have to decide which of the three of them is going to die to the saw blade, and it's in front of a bunch of people. This was also the 3D one, so they did a lot of gimmicky shit like throwing guts at the camera and shit.
Yes.
So how did you like this one?
I thought this one was a very iconic one.
Very creative for being the first public trap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, this one I can't remember. Did she end up being the one that died?
She was, yeah, because what happened was
she's playing both of them.
She was, and they were trying to kill each other at first, but like she was rooting for one of them, and then when he started losing, she started rooting for the other one. So they both realized, oh fuck her, you know. And then they just they let her die instead. Not exactly top tier for me, but definitely not bottom tier either. I would put this one under B, personally. Just because I think it was ballsy of them to do like a public trap like that. But like
me, I'm gonna rate this one an A.
An A for you, huh?
Yeah, it's an A for me.
Oh, let's see. I wonder where I have to if I could put that one. I mean, if I wanted to, I could add like an extra section and then name it whatever I want, and then put that for like the undecideds or whatever. Let's see. A currently has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. B has 1, 2, 3, 4. S has 3. C has 3. D has 2, and F has none so far.
Okay.
I don't know. It definitely feels more like a B trap to me, but I'm willing to compromise and put it on A.
Okay.
I'll give you that one, but when I get to my F later, if you don't agree with me, you're gonna have to give it to me anyways in return.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to you anyways. Yeah, in return. Yeah.
It's coming soon, so we'll see. Okay, so also, so this is kind of a big deal one because this one was actually banned from multiple Saw movies for being too much until they finally let it into the 7th one. And this is the garage trap, which had Chester Bennington from Linkin Park in it, where
peace, Chester.
A bunch of skinhead racists are all in this garage, and one of them is glued to the seat of the car, one of them's chained behind it, one of them's under it, and one of them's tied to the door. And he has to like...
Chester was the one glued to the seat.
Yep, and he has to like slowly reach forward and grab the lever, and he's like pulling off his back skin and all that.
It was so brutal, bro.
Yeah, and the guy that gets hit by the door, that one's the guy on the door, his death is kind of lame, but the rest of them, like her face gets smashed by the tire, the dude loses his jaw and arms behind him, like that's pretty fucked up. This one is definitely an A or S for me.
I'd say S.
If only out of respect for Chester Bennington, I'll put this one in S.
Yeah,
for sure. The next one is the fish hook trap, which is the Speak No Evil trap, which has to do with Bobby Dagan writing a book about how he survived a jigsaw trap even though he was never in one, and all of the people who knew about and went along with his lie are punished by being put in their own traps. This one is the Speak No Evil trap, where I don't know if it's his publicist or lawyer or whoever, they were all important to him somehow. This one is she is... There's like a decibel reader in the room, and if she screams too loud, these pipes get closer to her neck, and they will eventually impale her. As he is trying to dig the key out of her stomach, as it's attached to a fish hook going down her throat, and it's ripping off all the skin as it's coming up.
Yep.
This one is extremely painful to watch. Like,
yeah, it is. Absolutely.
Like, I can't, like, and everyone gets so mad at her for screaming and making noise, but how do you not in that situation?
Right.
Yeah, it's a rough one for me. Not top tier, not bad either though. Kind of a C or B trap, I would say.
I would say C.
A C? A C for you?
Yeah.
Now, looking at the picture of this other one, I might have made a mistake on what it actually is, and I have to zoom in again, but no, I think I'm right. I think I'm what it is. They just put these in a weird order for whatever reason. Okay, so the next one is the razor wire trap from the first Saw movie, which is where the big guy had to climb through a maze of razor wire and get to the end, and they found him after the fact, and it was it was the early movie, so it was like edited and fast paced like an old Slipknot music video, and it wasn't like overly violent or anything, but it was a interesting, I don't know, like it being in the first movie, it's a good one, but it's not the best one. I would put it under a C, maybe, for me. I would put this one under C. C for cut by razor wire.
C, yeah.
So the next one is from Saw 7, and this is the See No Evil trap, and this is the one where the lady is being slowly rotated towards these 3 pipes sticking towards her eyes and mouth that will impale and kill her if she reaches them. And in order to save her, Bobby has to lift up these things with his shoulders that jab him in the sides, and he has to hold that position long enough for her to survive. He almost does it, but kind of like loses it at the end, and she ends up dying. So how do we feel about this one, this lady just being slowly rotated into these pipes? It's pretty simple and uneventful death, honestly. Saw 7 really is a weak point of the franchise, isn't it? 7 and 2, I would say, are probably the worst movies.
I'm gonna grade this one a D.
Yep, I you know what, I was gonna go that route too. I was gonna say D on this one. Not the best that they did. The next one is the Hear No Evil trap, where Bobby's best friend who went along with all this, he's got a noose kind of hanging around his neck, and he's blindfolded, and he has to he's in a room where there's basically no floor. There's just like these different boards, and Bobby has to like direct him using audio only to get through the it, and it almost works. He gets the key, and he tosses it to him at one point, but it bounces out of his hand and hits the floor down below, and he has this oh fuck moment as he realizes he's about to die.
Yeah.
That was probably the one part too in the whole thing where I was like, oh shit, they actually did it, and then he drops the key, and I'm like, God fucking damn it. It's like they gave you a false sense of hope for a second. Another very simple trap, but maybe a little more eventful, just because they
C.
Yeah, I would put it under C too, just because they give you that moment of false hope just to pull it out from under you.
Yeah.
Now, this next one, this is the tooth code one. So this one is very simple and stupid. I don't even understand why this is considered a trap in this list, because it's not. The man literally just has to rip a tooth out of his head in order to get the code for the door. It's painful. It's painful to watch. You know, he like jams the pliers against the wall and shit to try and get his teeth out. There's blood everywhere. But it's not exactly the most memorable or over-the-top trap in the franchise, you know?
No.
If anything, I'm almost tempted to put this one in F. This isn't the one that has to be an F for me, though. That's actually the next one.
Yeah, this one would be F. It's anticlimactic.
Now, this next one, the Brazen Bull, I want to put this in F because it's mean-spirited. So this is where it's like Bobby has to, like, his wife, for some reason, who is a victim in all this because she didn't know that he was lying. She thought he was telling the truth. She, for some reason, is chained up to this thing, and he has to save her by doing what he claimed to do in his book by putting the hooks in his pectoral muscles and climbing to the top. And there's so many ways that he could have done this without actually doing that. He could have like put his feet on the solid parts of the hooks or any shit like that. Like, and it just... it's so stupid because he almost gets it and then he doesn't. Like, there's a million ways this could have gone better, but
yeah, absolutely.
But the worst part about it is that it's not even him that suffers. He gets electrocuted by the fence or something when he tries to save his wife, but his innocent wife, who did absolutely nothing wrong, somehow has to suffer a brazen bull, which is one of the worst torture kill methods in history, where you're being burned alive inside a metal object that is being heated from the outside. So you don't even get, like, the mercy of dying quick by fire. You are literally, like, boiling alive, but not in water. You're, like, cooking like in an oven. And that's just... This one goes in F for me because... It goes in F for fuck that shit because she did not...
Yeah.
She did not deserve that. There is no reason for that to have been the way it was. That was just mean-spirited. That was just mean-spirited for no reason. That poor woman. That, like, there could be an argument made for everyone else that's been in these traps in these movies, but she was just a target of circumstance for no reason. They killed her to punish him. Not, like, that is unfair. That's a hard F for me because that's just not okay.
I agree.
But then we have
the Lung Crusher from Saw 6.
Saw 6. So this is the one where the insurance guy gets to go through all these traps and decide whether or not the people that work in his office are worth saving. Based off of his own algorithms of whether or not people deserve life insurance, based off their probability of survival. Jigsaw turns his own probability algorithm against him in this movie, which I thought was pretty clever. This movie, Saw 6, actually came out at the height of, like, a big, like, political movement about, like, health insurance and shit around the time. So
makes sense.
It was making a statement. So this is the one where the insurance guy and the janitor, who smokes a pack a day, are both hooked up to this machine where whoever breathes too much will have their sides crushed and the other one will live. So that's all it is. They both got oxygen masks on. One of them, whoever holds their breath the longest lives. Is basically, the janitor guy can't do it. He breathes in too deeply and he gets smushed by the machine. His rib cage kind of pops out and he just dies. So how do we rate this one? It's a very simple one.
B.
Yeah, why not? I'll put it in B. B for blackened lungs from too much cigarettes.
Pretty much.
This next one, though, this one is interesting. This one is like this seems like the kind of shit they would put in one of those video games where you have to choose who lives and dies.
Hangman Gambit.
Yeah, so this is the one where there are two people on two platforms with razor wire around their neck. They're about to be hung to death, and he has to choose which one lives and which one dies. He's got two handles in both of his hands. They're slowly being pulled away from him, so he can only hold them for so long. He's got to let go of one eventually, or his arms are going to be ripped out of their sockets. So on one side, he's got this old lady who's his secretary, who has a family that loves her, but she is old, so based off his algorithm, she's going to die soon. But the other one is this young kid who's basically a nobody. He's got no family, no friends, no one would miss him if he died, but based off his algorithm, he's younger and therefore more likely to live. So this guy has to choose if he's going to let the old lady die or the young guy die. And he ends up letting the young guy die, going against his own algorithm, interestingly enough. In this he ends up, and the guy basically gets hung by barbed wire. So so in the form of death and gore, not a super interesting one, but in the form of, like, fitting the theme of the main series of traps in this particular movie, and, like, being one of the most interesting choices that someone who's gone through these trials has ever had to make, I would put this one at least in B.
B, yeah, I'd say so.
At least in B. I would put this one at least in B. Saw 6 is one of the better ones for me. I think it's up there. I think it's up there with the first one to a degree, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So the next one is the steam room trap, where they he's on the top and this other woman's on the bottom, and they both he has to sacrifice he has to pull these levers and get hit by some hot steam and burn a little bit in order to stop the steam flow on her end so she can get by. And then, every once in a while he can't hold it for too long. At one point he lets go and the steam pushes her into a hot panel on the wall and burns a bit. Yep. But in the end, when she gets to the top, she actually ends up trying to kill him because he's got a key sewed into him, and it's the key to the device on her. But he fights her off long enough that the device strapped to her goes off and shoots a spike through the bottom of her head that ends up killing her.
Jesus fuck.
You remember this one?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so, how do we feel about this one, the steam room? And the spike through the head at the end?
Just based on the spike alone, A.
Really?
Yeah.
Going kind of high up there, huh?
A little bit.
Well, I was going to actually I was going to end up putting this one in C. I actually think it's the weakest trap of Saw 6. Unfortunately, the best part of Saw 6, the ending where they reveal... I would put it in B. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, would you be willing to compromise and put it in B?
I'd be willing to put it in B. I would go with that.
I could agree with B.
The best trap of Saw 6 isn't on here, which is like, because at the end, you think that it's his wife and son that are in the trap at the end, but that are his family, but it's actually his sister, the reporter, is his family, and that woman and her kid are the wife and son of a man who died because he wouldn't give him insurance, so they pull the lever on him and he gets injected with all those acid needles, and that might be one of the most gnarly deaths in the whole franchise. Like, that was really cool. I'm sad that one's not on this tier list, but I do like the next one, which is the carousel trap. The
carousel trap.
Saw 6, which is the poster trap.
Yes.
And this is the one where out of 6 people on the carousel, only 2 can live, and that's if this man is willing to stab himself in the hands twice. And he has to decide. This is his team. This is his team of people who run the algorithms to decide who is and isn't worth saving, basically. And now the same thing is happening to them in a twisted twist of fate. And they go out of their way to make these guys unlikable early in the movie. Like, one of them literally has an award for like denying the most insurance claims. Like,
that's really shitty.
Yeah. So because they're like, hey, we're saving the company money even though we're killing people. So
right.
So yeah, they get brutal on each other for who should survive this one. 2 of them end up surviving this because he makes the sacrifice to his hands twice to save them. I want to put this one, I think, in A at least. I don't know if I would go as high as S for this one, but I've definitely put it in A.
A for sure.
Because it was just like probably the most iconic trap of Saw 6.
Yeah.
And I like the whole carousel aspect. I thought the whole scene was filmed really well. They actually, in the behind the scenes, they showed that they actually, like, the actors were all actually sitting on that spinning thing, Yeah. For the shots. It was well done. So, now they're jumping around a little bit again, but going back to the first Saw movie, we have the flammable jelly trap, which was another flashback trap talking about Jigsaw's history, where this guy had to find a code on the wall amongst a bunch of numbers with a candle to the safe. He was walking around naked and barefoot on broken glass, and he was covered in flammable jelly while holding a candle. This one is, like, super uneventful, kind of. It has what I like to call early stage syndrome, where it definitely feels like a rough draft trap, like the beginnings of like before they really figured out what they were doing. It's definitely not my favorite. I think this one for me honestly goes in D. I know it's from the first. I know it's from the first movie, and that's sacrilege, but it's really nothing special.
No, it's a D trap for sure.
The next one, however, the reverse bear trap, has to go in S by default because it's the most iconic trap in the Saw franchise. It is the Saw trap, and it's been in several movies.
Favorite. This is my favorite trap. My top favorite trap, the reverse bear trap.
Yeah, it's been it was Amanda's first test before she became a Jigsaw apprentice. It was used on Hoffman, and he creatively survived it. Then it was used again on Jill, and we finally got to see it in action when it killed her in the end of the 7th movie.
Yes.
After seven movies, they went full circle, and we got to see the payoff of the Saw trap. That in that part of the saga, as far as I'm concerned, Jigsaw and Spiral start a new spin-off saga for the franchise. Yeah. So, yeah, that one definitely, just because it is, like, you know, when people cosplay Saw, they're always wearing the reverse bear trap and shit like that, so... It's one of the most iconic. And then we have the opening trap from Saw 2, the Venus fly trap.
Mask. Yeah. The Venus fly mask.
Where the guy has to get the key from behind his eye with the scalpel, and the mask closes on him Iron Maiden style. This one's pretty iconic, too.
I'd say S.
Yeah, I kind of want to put in S2, because they took the idea of the reverse bear trap and kind of, reversed it, you know?
Yeah, pretty much.
And also, out of all the things in Saw that get parodied the most, the reverse bear trap and the Venus flytrap mask are the two things that, and the cutting their foot off in the bathroom are the three things that get spoofed the most, you know?
Yeah.
So I definitely, I consider that one pretty iconic. We might be being a little generous here. We have as many S's as we do C's, so I don't...
Fair.
Most of it is A's, though. So, yeah, and that one is also the very first hint, because you could tell they were going to do something with Dr. Gordon from the very beginning. That movie, Saw 2, that opening trap with the Venus flytrap mask, is the first hint that Dr. Gordon is working for Jigsaw after the first movie, because the surgeon who puts the key behind his eye has a limp, and he would have a limp after cutting his foot off in the first movie. So, so really good foreshadowing, like fucking 6 movies ahead of time, you know?
Yeah.
Or 5 movies in that case. So the next one is the furnace trap from Saw 2, where, like, you know, because all these people are together in the gas house, and they have to find these antidotes, and each trap in the house has an antidote, and each trap is specific to a different character, and the antidote's meant for them. This one is meant for Obi, and he basically has to crawl into this furnace and get this antidote, but when he grabs it, the door closes and the fire starts up, and all he has to do to turn the fire off is reach through it and burn himself a little to turn this valve and turn the fire off, but he doesn't get to it in time. He tries to break through the glass and ends up burning to death and loses both of the antidotes in the process. So how do we feel about this one?
This one was kinda... I'm gonna say C.
Yeah, I was going to say it's kind of a C for me, too. Fire deaths are never very exciting for me. In a movie where you're, like, ripping people's guts out and throwing them halfway across the room, death by fire is, like, bottom of the barrel, you know?
Yeah.
So, there wasn't a whole lot to that one, and Obi wasn't the best character anyways. In fact, he actually helped kidnap most of the people who were in that house. So...
Yeah.
So the next one is the needle pit trap, which I call memorable because this trap was meant for Xavier, but he actually picks up Amanda and throws her in there. And she has to dig through a bunch of used syringes in order to find a key. And when she comes out of that trap, she's got a bunch of needles sticking out of her arm and shit. Anyone who's got a phobia for needles did not like this one. This one's a B for me, I think.
I'd say I agree with that.
Because it's not super violent or nothing, and I don't have a needle phobia, so it didn't have the same effect on me, so I can't really... It does seem painful, because, I mean, she's digging through a bunch of needles for a key. But, like, and Xavier's an asshole. I'm glad he gets what he deserves at the end of that movie, but... But, you know, I mean, at this point, Amanda was already a Jigsaw apprentice, so she was just in this game undercover anyways. So, in a way, she also kind of got what she deserved, too.
Yeah.
So this one's a B for me, I think. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The behind the scenes for that one, too, showed how they did it, where they actually used a bunch of real empty syringe tubes, and then they put felt tip needles in there, like fake felt tip needles, in them, so she wouldn't actually stab herself. They put like literally, I think they said it was like 1,000 of them in the pit that they dug out, and it still wasn't enough, so they had to add a bunch of empty syringe tubes and mix them around. So not all of those tubes have a needle in them, but the way they film it, you can't tell, but they basically had to like pad it a bit.
Gotcha. Okay.
And yeah, it's just a padded area that they built. They built this on a set, and then like the wood around where the wood is rotted that makes the hole in the floor, that's all rubber. That's all rubber wood right there.
Makes sense.
And they covered all the needles in fake slime to give them a more grotesque look. And stuff like that. So, and then they used a prosthetic arm for the scene where they're pulling the needles out of her skin. So the next one is the razor box trap from Saw 2, where the girl walks into the room and she sees an antidote in this box. She reaches her hand up to grab it, realizes her mistake, and she tries to pull her hand out, but she can't because it's like one of those wasp traps where you can go in but not out, because when she tries to pull her hand out, it's being cut on glass. So she stupidly puts her other hand in, and now she's stuck. And if she had just walked around to the other side, she would have saw there was a key sticking out of it that she could have just used to open it. Also, this trap wasn't meant for her. It was meant for the guy who gets a bullet in the eye in the very beginning when he goes to open the door. As well. But this one, a lot of people remember this one just for being one of the most painful ones to watch and one of the easiest ones to avoid, but her stupidity and desperation put her in the situation. I don't know, probably like somewhere between B, C, and D for me on this one. I'm kind of undecided.
I'd say B.
B? Okay.
Yeah.
And finally, we have the classroom trap from the opening of Saw 3, which has this guy named Troy wake up with all of these chains stuck into him, into his arms and legs and feet, and one even through his jaw. And he's told he's got to rip all the chains out in order to get out of the classroom. But this is once again an Amanda trap and therefore unwinnable. First of all, there's a chain through his jaw, so that's not happening. And secondly, the door is welded shut. Anyway, so even if he somehow did manage to rip his own jaw off and survive that, he wouldn't have gotten out anyways. So the room explodes.
He would have bled out.
The room explodes and he dies. So, but just for the gnarliness of watching a man rip these chains out of his own skin and shit, and then like the aftermath of the explosion, and then like the introduction to Amanda's brutality as a straight up murderer, where do we put this one?
Bro, this one was, dare I say, S.
That'd be a hard dare for me. Really? That one's up there, huh?
Yeah. No.
I'd be...
No, A.
Yeah, I'd be willing to put this one in A. Maybe not on
a it's not quite S status.
Maybe not on a personal ranking, but as if I'm looking at it objectively, I could understand an argument for this one going in A. So, we made it through the whole tier list, and that puts us with 6 traps in S rank. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 traps in A and B rank, 7 in C rank, 4 in D rank, and 2 in F. Not a bad haul overall. A lot of A's and B's, which basically like covers the overall shift in quality of the movies themselves, if I'm being honest. It looks like most of the best traps in the movie were... Well, actually, the S rank has a lot of variety. We've got a trap from 3, 2 traps from 1, a trap from 5, a trap from 7, and a trap from 2. But most of the worst traps we decided are either in 5 or 7, it looks like, for the most part. So, those ones were probably... But 5 also had some really good ones, too. You know, like the pendulum trap. So, and then looks like 3 and 4 kind of fell in between somewhere, and 6 as well. Okay, yeah, so not a bad tier system overall. I really enjoyed doing that. See, I'd like to do this for something else too besides, so I've been wanting to do one of these for a while, and it just finally hit me. Saw traps be perfect for the upcoming movie. So
yes,
but I would love to do one of these for different I'd like to rank like PlayStation exclusives or something like that at some point.
Yeah.
Do something like that. So that would be fun. Real quickly, we'll just go down the list. We'll do each movie, including the newer ones. What is your favorite and least favorite trap from each movie, starting with the first one?
Starting with the first one.
Yeah, so the first one had the reverse bear trap, the razor wire trap, the flammable jelly, the bathroom trap, and that's basically it. That's the
so my all-time favorite. I said it before. My all-time favorite is the reverse bear trap.
The reverse bear trap, right?
And I'd have to say the flammable jelly trap has got to be the worst of that movie.
Yep, so I'll have to agree with that on the flammable jelly, although I'd have to put the overall bathroom trap that covers most of the movie a little bit above the reverse bear trap, just a little bit, just because it leads to the super iconic ending, and it's basically what the whole movie is about. So, okay, from Saw 2, we had the opening with the fly mask, and then we had all the traps involved in the gas house, which includes the booby-trapped door with the pistol, the razor box trap, the needle pit trap, and the furnace.
Yeah. So I'd have to say the Venus fly mask is the best.
Agreed on that one.
And the furnace trap being the worst.
Yeah, I could agree on that one too. I wanted to say the part where the guy goes to open the door and gets shot through the eye, but that one was actually kind of a good surprise if you've never seen the movie before. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so Saw 3 opened with the unbeatable classroom trap, and then there's also Carrie's unbeatable angel rack trap, and then there's all of Jeff's tests, which include the freezing room, the pig vat, and the twisting crucifix, and then of course there's Jigsaw's test for Lynn and Amanda, which involves the shotgun collar while they're trying to do surgery on his brain. So out of that movie, there's a lot of things happening in Saw 3, so what's our favorite? The twisting crucifix, right?
The twisting crucifix has got to be the best.
Right. With maybe a honorable mention to the angel rack trap, too.
Yes. I agree with that 100%. Now, the worst... Oof.
The freezing room for me.
The ice room, yeah.
Just like the most boring trap in Saw history.
Yeah.
Okay, so Saw 4 had the mausoleum trap in the opening where they had to fight or whatever, blind and mute. And then we had the hair crank, the scalping, the pervert that had to stab his eyes out, and the wife who had to kill her abusive husband with the skewering rods. And then, of course, the main trap where Hoffman pretends to be the next Jigsaw, and Donnie Wahlberg gets his head smashed by ice. So...
let's see... Hair crank trap has got to be the best.
Okay.
And the worst... The knife chair.
Oh yeah, the knife chair. I forgot about that one too. Yeah, I agree. The worst one is the knife chair from the flashbacks. The best one, I don't know if it's the hair crank for me. It might be. You know what? Yeah, I'd give it to that one too. for that one. I'd probably give it to that one too, if I'm being honest. So Saw 5, obviously the opening trap is the pendulum, then we have the water box trap for Peter Strahm, and then all the traps in the Fatal 5 with the V-collar, the exploding room, the electric bathtub, and the handy holes for the saw blades. And of course the crushing walls at the end. So for me, the best one is a hard choice between the pendulum and the crushing walls.
Yeah, same. But I have to say the worst one was the electric bathtub.
The electric bathtub, yeah, I'd have to go with that too. Just so uneventful.
Yeah.
We did rate the pendulum a slightly higher than the crushing walls, though. The pendulum's an S and the crushing walls are an A, so I'd say the pendulum is probably the better one.
Yep.
By at least a little bit.
Yeah.
Just such a memorable opener, too.
Yes,
top of it.
Absolutely.
You know what? I forgot about... It wasn't in the tier list, but, like, we'll mention it here because we're in here now. Saw 6. I think this was the opening for 6. Yeah, so the opening for Saw 6 was... it wasn't listed in the tiers, but it's the pound of flesh trap where the two people have to sacrifice the most flesh to survive between the two of them.
I remember that
and
one.
And the one guy cuts off pieces of his stomach, and the girl cuts off her whole arm to win. So there's that one, and then there's the main events of Saw 6 where the insurance guy is going through and he, you know, there's the breathing trap that he starts with, there's the choosing who to save with the barbed wire trap, there's the carousel, and then, of course, there's the acid needles that get pumped into him at the end. Then there's the reverse bear trap 2.0 put on Hoffman, by Jill, which he manages to survive. And then... I'm trying to think if I'm missing anything from that one. I don't think I am, because we got the opener. Because that opening trap with the pound of flesh trap, he takes Peter's hand from his death scene from the last movie and uses his severed hand to put his fingerprints all over that trap scene to make it look like he... Because Hoffman tries to frame Peter... After killing Peter, he tries to frame him as the next Jigsaw in the 5th movie.
I remember that.
So, what are we like... Or in the 6th movie, I mean. So, what is our favorite from the 6th movie? It's gotta be... Like, the pound of flesh is pretty good, the carousel trap is pretty good, and that guy getting pumped full of acid at the end was pretty good, too. It's kind of a toss-up between those three for me.
I'd have to say the one where the guy's getting pumped full of acid is my favorite.
At the end there?
Saw 6, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably it too. That's probably the one for me. Least favorite from 6, also kind of a hard choice because that one actually had a lot of good ones, but probably the Hangman's Gambit, the barbed wire one. Where I mean, that one's emotional because he has to choose who to save, but it's not like... I don't know, it's like probably like the least interesting trap out of all of them.
Yeah,
in
I'd
that
say
one.
So.
And then Saw 7 opened with the public execution trap, and then we had then we had, of course, the garage trap with Chester Bennington, and then we had all of there was the machine gun trap, which was only there to kill Gideon. It wasn't really a survivable thing. It was just a booby trap more than anything. Which, by the way, I forgot to mention in the first Saw movie, Detective Tapp and Singh, Detective Singh actually dies to a booby trap where he trips the tripwire and the shotgun blasts his head off. That technically counts too. And the drill chair that guy was hooked up to that he starts before he tries to get away. But yeah, anyways, but then Bobby's tests, you know, he's got to get out of that cage, and then you've got the fish hook, and you've got the hanging thing with the no floor, and you've got the rotating thing with the pipes that stick in the eyes, and then of course the brazen bull at the end.
That's the worst. That's the worst one.
That one or the one where he's knocking his teeth out to get the code are easily the worst ones in the whole franchise, let alone that movie.
Right.
The Brazen Bull could have been good if it was used on actual test subject and not an innocent bystander.
Yeah.
So unfortunate. It's just such a painful way to go for someone who did nothing wrong.
Right. But I'd have to say the best one for me is a toss-up between the public execution trap and the garage trap.
Probably definitely the garage trap. I'd have to give it to that one.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna give it to that one. That one was just gnarly and brutal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
they weren't on the tier list, but we'll talk about them a little bit. Jigsaw, which ended up being like both a prequel and a sequel at the same time. That was the big twist in that one. Was that like the game you were watching take place the whole time wasn't the game that was happening in the present, it was happening in the past.
Yeah.
So, was there an opening trap in Jigsaw? I can't remember if there was an opening one.
I don't remember because I've only ever watched it once.
Right,
no,
that
reasons.
Guy just... Yeah, that's the one where the guy just kind of gets shot at the beginning, so that doesn't really count. But the barn is where most of the traps take place. So the first room, they all have the buckets on their heads, and they're getting pulled towards the chainsaws. They got to lose, or get the saw blades. They got to lose a little blood to survive. And then there's the one where they have to figure out the right code for the needle, and the chick. It's related specifically to the amount of money she stole from someone, but she doesn't do it in time, so the guy jabs her with all 3 needles, and one of them has acid, and it kills her from the inside. It melts her face off from the inside out. I'm going to jump
forward a little bit, but the lady that ends up dying at the very end...
Oh, yeah.
I am so glad I watched the entire fucking movie. Because that bitch deserved what she got for framing her husband for killing the kid when she was the one that smothered it with a pillow in the first place. Coming from someone who's actually suffered the loss of a child, yeah, that was well deserved.
Yeah, she basically blasts her own face off with a
Karma's a fucking bitch.
So then we also have the guy who gets his leg caught in the boards, and he has to basically cut his own leg off with the wire by pulling the lever in order to get out of there. Well, also, he has to sacrifice his leg to save the other 2 who are caught in a silo full of grain and having a bunch of sharp objects falling towards them.
I remember the silo.
And then, in the next room, a guy gets lowered into a blender-type machine, and he has to pull a lever on a motorbike.
Isn't that like one of the... Wasn't that a later release to be announced to be like one of the very first saw traps ever thought of?
It was, yeah, in this very movie, they basically reveal that it was a prototype trap that Jigsaw never used, but he actually did, because this barn game nobody knew about except for Logan, who is the guy that is revealed in this movie to be a new Jigsaw apprentice, and having worked with him since the beginning, since even before Hoffman and Amanda. The reason that he's not with them working as an apprentice during the events of the other movies is because he got shipped off to Afghanistan for war. So, and when he comes back, he's dealing with PTSD, so he just didn't get involved, and by the time he's finally back in the Jigsaw game, the original John Kramer is dead. So, but he uses the knowledge that he was taught by John to get revenge on this police captain who's been letting, whose oversights and corruption have caused the unavoidable deaths of innocent people. So, like, this whole thing, he basically starts a new Jigsaw game and basically uses it as a front to get this police captain to confess to all the dirty shit that he's done, is basically what the whole setup for that was.
And isn't that the tie-in for Spiral?
No, there's no tie-in to Spiral in this. The only tie-in to the franchise for this movie is the fact that the game you're watching in the barn happen. You think that the bodies they're finding in the present are from this game, but they're not. They're from a new game that he made that's just like it. And you find out that because John, who's supposed to be way dead at this point, shows up at the end of this movie to talk to the last two survivors, and that's when you find out that this game actually took place way in the past, and Logan was one of his original apprentices, and he's just repeating a previous Jigsaw game that no one ever knew about. This one was unknown. No one ever found the evidence of this game. So, probably because of Logan's military training, he probably helped him hide the bodies from it. So
probably.
But then of course Logan was unavailable to him because he was gone. So the whole time John's apprentices have actually been Amanda, Hoffman, Dr. Gordon, and Logan, and in a way sometimes his wife Jill. Because you remember the 7th movie ended with the revelation that Dr. Gordon has been a Jigsaw apprentice the whole time, and part of John's will was a videotape he left for Dr. Gordon telling him that if anything happens to Jill, that he is to act in his absence. And Hoffman kills Jill, so Dr. Gordon punishes Hoffman for it by leaving him in that bathroom to rot. That's
pretty much.
Basically putting an end to the Jigsaw legacy and carrying out John's final dying wish, you know?
Yeah.
That is until Logan comes back from war and picks up where John left off, and that's what Jigsaw is about. And then, of course, Spiral reveals that there's a whole group of Jigsaw fanatics out in the world that are continuing his work. So that's basically a cult of Jigsaw, if you will.
Yes.
So favorite trap from, real quick while we still have time, favorite trap from, Jigsaw. For me, it's got to be the blender, I think. Oh, wait, before I forget, there's also the laser cutters at the end. They come down, cut that guy's head into 8 different pieces, and it blooms open like a bloody flower.
For me, it's the very ending when that bitch gets what she deserves.
Oh, right,
yeah. For framing her husband.
Trip. Yeah, so where he puts the keys in the shotgun, but he rigs the shotgun so they shoot backwards, and she shoots herself in the face trying to shoot the other guy.
Yup.
Yeah. So that's
Karma's a bitch.
For me, it either has to be the blender trap or the one where the laser cutters cut through that guy's face, the guy's head, just because of the severity of those ones. Like, that's just brutal. Least favorite, I don't know if I have a least favorite in this one. I guess even the girl getting jabbed in the neck with acid kind of looked really cool.
Yeah.
But I guess if I had to choose a least favorite, that would be it, I guess.
Yeah.
For this one. And then Spiral, spoiler alert for people who haven't seen this one. We've got the opening trap with the guy's tongue, and he has to, rip his tongue out to avoid being hit by the train. We've got the guy that's got to, rip his fingers off to avoid getting electrocuted in the water. We've got the girl who's got to sever her own spine in order to avoid getting drowned by hot wax. That one just looked painful.
It did.
And
they were all cops, too.
Yeah, because there was a whole corrupt cop force thing. What am I missing here? I know there was more. There was a fake one with the fake body in the freezer, so I don't count that one.
And then there was the one with the was it flying glass?
Yes, the flying glass. That one is actually my favorite, I think, where the glass is being fed into that shredder or whatever, and it's just being spit out at 100 miles per hour and just shredding that guy to pieces.
Yes.
That one. That one's probably my favorite, because then there's also the ending one with his dad, which
with Samuel L. Jackson.
The puppet trap.
The puppet trap.
Yeah.
Yep.
No,
I think
the glass shredder is probably my favorite one in this one.
Honestly, I really liked the work that Chris Rock did in this movie.
Yeah, not too bad.
No, for it being the first thing outside of comedy for him, this was a really interesting role for him.
He's
a
also
really
a big
dark
fan.
Role.
He's a big fan of the Saw movies and wanted to do something like this.
That makes sense. Like, you're an actor in Hollywood. Why the fuck not? And the fact that they got Samuel L. Jackson to play in it too was amazing too. But I would have to say, on all seriousness, the my favorite trap I would have to say is the opening one, the one where dude he decides last second that he wants to jump down and still dies.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. Yeah,
least favorite because
the hot wax one for me.
Yeah, the hot wax. Yeah, I'd have to say that.
It just seems unfair.
Yeah. No, it definitely. No, that's completely unfair. That was the police. That was the police captain too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think she was. I think she was a captain.
She was the captain. Yeah.
So yeah, that's just unfortunate, but interesting twist on that one and all that too. I enjoy these movies. There are some are better than others. They have their ups and downs, but the franchise as a whole is up there with Final Destination for me in terms of horror movies that find creative ways to kill people.
Yeah.
That's what we're really here. You watch Saw for the traps, just like you watch Final Destination to see all the different ways death is gonna Rube Goldberg people into dying.
Oh my gosh, yes, Final Destination. They're supposed to, aren't they supposed to be coming out with another one?
They may make a sixth one that takes place in another timeline. It would be like a reboot.
Yeah.
Because the fifth movie brought that series full circle, but we'll talk about that in another episode. That's I've got some things for that one, but
for sure.
Well, that was our Saw tier list. I downloaded the image, the final image, so we can save it. But so yeah, for those of you who are Saw fans, let me know in the comments or shoot me an email or whatever. What are some of your favorite Saw movies, your favorite traps from Saw movies, your least favorite traps from Saw movies, the hardest ones to watch, that kind of thing. You can leave a comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube, or you can email me at mroversoul53@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on the website formerly known as Twitter at Oversoul53. And how can they reach you for various reasons and things?
You can find me on the website formerly known as Twitter as The Vaping Fiend. You can find me on TikTok as the.vaping.fiend, and I don't use it all that often, but if you want to follow me on Twitch, I am The Vaping Fiend on Twitch as well.
Very, very good. Well, I enjoyed doing this tier list. I'd love to do another one again sometime.
We should do
this as well. We're hoping to do a review of the upcoming Saw X movie, so look forward to that as well. Closing thoughts?
Yeah.
You were gonna say we should do a tier list of something?
We should do a tier list of the Final Destination deaths.
You know what? I'll see if I can find one. That would be cool.
Yeah.
That would make a good October episode too.
Right. Sure would.
Well, that'll be it for this episode, folks. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to click that like button if you're on YouTube. And until next time, we'll catch you in the next one. Good night, everybody.
Bye.